Chapter 121. Demon Worship Cult Stronghold. Yi Shiwen stepped forward, stared at the 7 people coldly, and said, "Tell me, who ordered you to deal with me last time?" Yi Shiwen naturally had guesses in his heart, but he didn't have the chance to confirm it. Now that the 7 people were in front of him, Yi Shiwen naturally wanted to take advantage of the situation to ask clearly. "What order? How come I don't know?" The young man in the middle of the robe said stubbornly. "It's Hu Yuanhang, isn't it?" Yi Shiwen said indifferently, and as expected, he noticed slight changes in the faces of these people, and he was a little surprised, although it was only a flash of time. But it was enough for Yi Shiwen to judge. "It's okay if you don't say it. Although I can't kill you here, it's okay to discount your bones one by one." Yi Shiwen said with a sneer. He didn't have any goodwill towards these 7 people. They shot and killed themselves together, and they would have been abolished long ago if they were replaced by ordinary people, and they were definitely evil-hearted people. When the 7 heard it, their faces changed drastically. Regarding Yi Shiwen's decisive killing, including this time, they have met twice, and they even believed that if this was not at Tongtian Peak, if it was outside the sect, they would definitely there is no escape from Yi Shiwen's killer. They would never think that it was their own troubles to find Yi Shiwen several times. On the contrary, they would only think of Yi Shiwen's cruelty. They are not good people to be deceived on weekdays, and they have not done anything on weekdays, but because of this, they feel that Yi Shiwen actually did what he said and did. Yes, it's senior brother Hu. At this time, a disciple finally couldn't bear the strong pressure of Yi Shiwen and took the lead in confessing. Immediately, the eyes of the other disciples were darkened. This time, they gave Hu Yuanhang out, so they can be better in the future. Although Hu Yuanhang doesn't necessarily care that Yi Shiwen knows that he is behind the scenes, but all of his subordinates are like this, can he feel good? At that time, don't talk about the benefits of being by Hu Yuanhang's side, maybe he will kill him. Although they had not been with Hu Yuanhang for a long time, they knew very well about Hu Yuanhang's gloomy character. However, Yi Shiwen didn't have the heart to care about them at this time. He picked up the flying sword on the ground, turned around and left. Although the body of the flying sword was covered with cracks, there is no doubt that as long as it is not repaired, it is still a pseudo-spiritual weapon. To be able to sell 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones is definitely a small fortune. The 7 disciples looked at Yi Shiwen's figure with ugly faces, but they didn't dare to chase after him. Anyway, what was lost was this little prince. After going down the foot of the mountain, Yi Shiwen blew a whistle, and the huge crane in the sky flew down immediately. They were all well trained, and the cranes who had been trained for many years could fully understand Yi Shiwen's instructions and had a heart-to-heart connection. Riding on the crane fluttered its wings and flew out immediately, making traces in the sky. The cold wind and the violent whistling. Although the sun was shining brightly in the sky, it was a gloomy wind, which was very strange and infiltrating, making people sweat on the back. There is a desolate scene everywhere, the wind and sand are fascinating, and the crows are croaking on the old trees and dead vines. Yi Shiwen was walking on the trail, and there was a village not far away, but from a distance, he couldn't see any anger at all, and there was death everywhere. The village not far away is a stronghold of the demon worship cult that Yi Shiwen received the mission this time. Although the people in the demon cult are all human, their behavior style has gradually moved closer to the demon clan. These people practice the magic method created by the demon clan for them. The ultimate goal is said to be to shatter the void and soar to the demon world. Although these people are still human, they are no longer human, they should be considered demons. The places visited by them are basically uninhabited thousands of miles away, and it is very easy to be discovered, so the disciples who worship the devil usually rarely hide their traces when they travel. There are also many disciples of the demon cult who use human essence as a means of cultivation, which can make their cultivation progress by leaps and bounds. Yi Shiwen continued to walk inside, but he was secretly vigilant in his heart. There were mummified corpses lying on the side of the road everywhere on this small road, and black and red dried blood was everywhere. There were still some dead bodies. There are some scavenger birds eating the carcass. Yi Shiwen couldn't help but take a breath. These disciples of the demon sect were extremely cruel. Yi Shiwen did not kill anyone, but those were the ones who had to kill him. No problem. But seeing this tragic situation, he still took a deep breath. Those carrion-eating birds flew over when they saw Yi Shiwen, a living creature. These carrion-eating birds that absorbed a lot of yin, I'm afraid it won't take long for them to form demon cores in their bodies and transform. Become a demon. But even if he turned into a monster, he would not be Yi Shiwen's opponent. Yi Shiwen was ruthless. Seeing the tragic state of those people, he was even more bored when he saw these scavenger birds. The birds screamed and were cut in half. Yi Shiwen observed the corpses. These corpses were grabbed directly from the head with claw skills, absorbing all the essence and blood in the body. They were extremely cruel, tolerable things. Yi Shiwen trotted all the way and saw those wild dogs and birds that came to eat carrion. Jia Jia, someone came to send him to die. Suddenly, a hoarse and sharp laughter like a night owl came from behind Yi Shiwen, and a huge blood claw grabbed it from behind. Seeing that Yi Shiwen was about to be caught, he saw Yi Shiwen take a step in the air, his figure swayed, and he appeared 10 steps away. Where Yi Shiwen was standing, he was instantly struck by a thin, bloodshot bone. The claw made a big hole. Yi Shiwen looked at it, but it was a strange black figure that could not be seen clearly. The figure was completely covered by the black cloak, but from the cloak, 2 huge ghost claws stretched out. It was cold and pale, but bloodshot. Looked terrifying. Boy, I didn't expect you to be able to hide, you're a bit famous. The black shadow Jia Jia said with a weird smile. It seems that this village was slaughtered by you. Yi Shiwen looked at the shadow coldly. It's what I did. These stupid mortals can become the essence of my practice, that's the blessing they have cultivated in their lifetimes. The black shadow monster shouted. Chapter 122 Core Disciple. It's what I did. These stupid mortals can become the essence of my practice, that's the blessing they have cultivated in their lifetimes. The black shadow monster shouted. Jia Jia, I didn't expect to be a well-trained martial arts disciple, haha, this kind of person sucks his essence the best. A big supplement, 1,000 mortals can't compare. At this time, there was another Jia Jia. Strange laughter came from all around. Drain all his blood, ha ha ha, the old man can go further. Kill him, I will eat his heart. Around Yi Shiwen, there were more than a dozen black figures in cloaks, all of them were full of murderous aura, and they were all murderous old demons. Yi Shiwen's eyes flickered with deep disgust. Even for those real murderous demons, Yi Shiwen would not have too much feeling, but for these old demons, Yi Shiwen was extremely disgusted, because these people did not take human beings at all. Humans, just beasts, 2-legged sheep, are simply a group of monsters with distorted psychology. Monster pretending to be a ghost. Yi Shiwen sneered again and again, stepping on his feet suddenly, the ground shattered, and the huge force made Yi Shiwen's entire body suddenly fly out, and the knife light slashed out a huge knife chi. Bang! An old devil was instantly cut in half. Bastard! Dare to kill our man, kill him. The demons who worshipped the demons began to roar again and again, fierce and vicious, their auras were completely released, and the sullen aura spread all around. Each of these devils is actually the existence of the peak of the 5th level of congenital, plus the unique cruelty and great power of the magic method. Even if it is a real master of congenital small perfection, it is very difficult and may die. Yi Shiwen took a deep breath, and the light of the sword instantly spread. These demons instantly dropped their cloaks that were in the way, revealing the deity underneath. These disciples of the demon sect, their faces were as black as charcoal, and there were dense scales growing in many places on their bodies, like a statue of a demon. These people obviously went wrong in their practice, and the scales on their bodies could not be controlled. The magic power handed down by the demons in those days is itself the gene that changes the human body, transforming people into demons. The process is very painful and cruel, and people who practice correctly can still maintain the appearance of people. They are human demons, and these people are very obviously, it is just a failed product, a half-finished product, and the practice has gone wrong. If there is no great adventure, it will be impossible to cross the obstacle of the 5th level of innate and enter the 6th level of innate. The magic power is cruel, powerful, and it enters the world very quickly. Of course, the side effects are also very serious. If you are not careful, you will become this kind of half-human, half-demon monster, and you have to kill people to maintain its existence. Death. Only those elites who have obtained pure magic power inheritance will be much better. These old devils are cruel and bloodthirsty, and they all want to absorb all the blood essence from Yi Shiwen's body, with greedy eyes flashing in their red eyes. Boom! An old devil grabbed Yi Shiwen with his claws, bursting the air, and the blood around him instantly gathered and grabbed towards Yi Shiwen. Dang! Yi Shiwen slashed with a knife and slashed onto the dead claw of the old devil, but made a sound of gold and iron. These old devils had already refined their hands into magical weapons. Already mentally distorted, he no longer regards himself as flesh and blood. Yi Shiwen fought and retreated, and the long sword danced with the shadow of the sword in the sky, isolating these old demons. If it was just one, Yi Shiwen didn't care, but with so many old demons, Yi Shiwen's fists were hard to beat with 4 hands. Although these old devils are only at the peak of the 5th level of congenital, but with their cruel and powerful magic arts, they can even compete with some disciples who have just stepped into the small perfection realm, so they dare to be so arrogant. Qianlong out of the abyss. An old demon rushed into Yi Shiwen's sword curtain and was cut in half by Yi Shiwen, but the other old demon took the opportunity to chase in. Yi Shiwen made a decisive decision, and immediately made a move. Yi Shiwen suddenly felt that the infuriating energy in his body was being continuously drawn away, far exceeding other moves, but in an instant, Yi Shiwen's hand instantly turned into dragon claws, and the blue dragon claws glowed dark in this gloomy environment. The ray of light rose against the wind in an instant, grabbing the old devil in his hand. The old devil didn't even have time to react, and was caught in his hand by the dragon's claws condensed with infuriating energy. Yi Shiwen squeezed hard. Bang! The old devil was squeezed into meat sauce. Yi Shiwen has already trained Qianlong out of the abyss to the realm of mastery. Not only the power has suddenly increased, it may be that he has reached the point where he can do whatever he wants. The point of change, according to Yi Shiwen's needs. Yi Shiwen beheaded 2 demons again, and Yi Shiwen's pressure has also eased a lot, but in the same way, Yi Shiwen's innate qi has also been fully drained by 10%, plus the previous consumption, he can use up to 8 times, but these old devils are far more than these 8. However, Yi Shiwen was sure to escape. Just as Yi Shiwen was hesitating whether to call Shan, suddenly, a long whistle sounded in the sky, coming from a distance, and the sound of thunder rolled. Immediately afterwards, there was another roar of raptors, and a huge black shadow flew down from the sky. It was a large eagle monster, 1 circle bigger than Yi Shiwen's crane, and 2 huge eagle claws. Sen Leng is extremely fierce, and ordinary warriors of the innate realm can't stop this claw. On top of this monster bird, stood a young man in his 20s, with outstanding bearing, dressed in warrior clothes, carrying a long sword, and his stern aura rose to the sky. You monsters, you really don't know how to live or die, you dare to do such a thing that is not allowed by God. The young man shouted loudly, and the surrounding air began to roll with his voice. It's blood food again, ha ha ha, and another disciple with a deep cultivation base has come to the door. An old devil said with a loud laugh. But before he finished speaking, the old devil was pierced by a terrifying sword energy, and he couldn't die any longer. I don't know whether to live or die, the young man said coldly. When Yi Shiwen saw the logo on the young man's sleeve, he breathed a sigh of relief. He was a disciple of the One Yuan sect. Everyone, run, this is a master of the 6th level or above. Those old demons were not stupid, and immediately scattered and fled. The long sword on the young man flew out in an instant, and the sword chi that filled the sky suddenly burst out, and the old demons were pierced by the sword chi one by one before they even had time to escape. Those old demons who were still arrogant just now were beheaded in an instant, and the scene was instantly reversed. Chapter 123 Surrounding and Killing the Little Prince Mo Yan. These old demons who were arrogant just now are not the opponents of this young man at all. This young man has obviously crossed the level of the acquired 5th layer and entered a higher level, and is definitely a core disciple. While speaking, the air can be caused to roll like waves, which is a method that warriors below the 6th level of innate do not have. Yi Shiwen can also punch a large piece of air with 1 punch, but he is absolutely unable to do so, and the air is billowing when he speaks, with a terrifying momentum. This is a manifestation of the deep inner strength to a terrifying level. Under Yi Shiwen, I have seen senior brother. Yi Shiwen stepped forward and cupped his hands. No matter what, someone else saved him just now, although he had more than enough to protect himself. You are Yi Shiwen. The young man glanced at Yi Shiwen and seemed to know what Yi Shiwen looked like. As expected, he is well deserved of his reputation, and he is able to do well among these disciples of the demon cult, but ordinary disciples of the innate small perfection realm can't do it. Senior brother has won the award. Yi Shiwen is not surprised. He has been in the limelight recently. Although he is only an inner disciple, he has gained some fame among the core disciples. At the level of Yi Shiwen, the core disciples will pay attention, because those seed disciples, or those who are comparable to the seed disciples, are almost all the masters of the congenital 5th level peak or the small perfection realm. God knows when they will pass this path. Threshold, you can be on an equal footing with them, but you can't treat them like ordinary inner disciples. Just right, one more person and more strength. Junior brother Yi, I have a favor this time, and I want you to help. The young man said. Yi Shiwen knew from the young man's mouth that the young man's name was Zhuge Xingli. He was a core disciple of the One Yuan sect. They gathered together and wanted to ambush a character named Little Prince Mo Yan from the younger generation of the demon worship cult. This Little Prince Mo Yan is also a well-known figure in the younger generation of the demon worship cult. It is rumored that he was the prince of a certain small country, but he later introduced the demon worship cult, which led to the country being destroyed, but he worshipped him. He became a core disciple of the demon worship cult, and was highly valued by the upper echelons of the demon worship cult. In this sect of demon worship, the little prince Mo Yan was also very active. And Zhuge Xingli and the others just wanted to assemble and jointly ambush the little prince, and Zhuge Xingli asked Yi Shiwen to go too, not that Yi Shiwen should rush to the front, but just ask Yi Shiwen to clean up the fish that slipped through the net. This idea is also a temporary idea, because it was temporarily noticed by Zhuge Xingli and others. The little prince Mo Yan will pass by here, and Zhuge Xingli is responsible for finding disciples near here, and dare not use the signal for communication, afraid of hitting the grass and scaring the snake. This is a big fat fish. Little Prince Mo Yan's head is worth 50,000 middle-grade spirit stones. Among the disciples of the core disciple level of the demon worship cult, it is absolutely rare, are second to none. Yi Shiwen agreed after thinking about it. He was also very disgusted by people who worship demons, and he was just picking up leaks, so it shouldn't be a big problem. After the confirmation, Yi Shiwen began to recite the salvation of human beings, to save these dead souls. Although he knew that their souls might have been swallowed up, the resentment of these people would still remain in the air. No matter what, over time, this place will become a dead place, yin qi will gather, and over time, some unclean things will be derived, and things like yin spirit ghost temples and the like may be derived. There are several battlefields in the country of Deu where hundreds of thousands of people fought in the early days of the country. At that time, the army was in chaos, and no one had time to save the soldiers who died in vain. Execute the enemy, the ghosts of the undead soldiers gather everywhere. In the summer, the sun can't get in, and the wind is really cloudy. Ordinary people will foam at the mouth when they approach Bailey, and the yin qi will enter the body. From then on, it will be a loss of life and blessings. Even a warrior with strong qi and blood will not dare to go too deep. Although it won't be so exaggerated here, since Yi Shiwen is already here, naturally he can't let it go. After reading the Salvation Sutra once, the resentment in the air has almost disappeared. Although there is still a lot of yin qi, it is not important anymore. There is no resentment in it. Will disappear. Yi Shiwen followed Zhuge Xingli, rode the eagle, and soon came to the place where the core disciples gathered. Behind a hill, there was a circle of disciples of the One Yuan sect. There were about 20 or so. Among them, there were 3 core disciples. Under the introduction of Zhuge Xingli, Yi Shiwen went to see him. A short, fat man dressed more like a businessman, with a smile on his fat face, is a very famous one among the core disciples. The ability is stronger, and among the core disciples are notoriously rich. Next to Xiao Jin, was a pretty woman in soapy clothes, about 20 years old, but also a core disciple, named Shui Yuan. Next to Shui Yuan, stood a young man in green clothes, standing proudly with a sword in hand. He was also a core disciple. His name was Zheng Yijiao, and he was not an unknown person among the core disciples. And this time, the plan to besiege the little Prince Mo Yan was led by these 4 core disciples. As for the remaining 20 or so inner disciples, all of them are not only simple, but also introverted and profound. The strength of the 5th level peak, and even there are not many people with congenital small perfection. Among the inner disciples, they are all leading figures, but here they can only fight and find out. However, there was no dissatisfaction on the faces of everyone. They all knew exactly what kind of character the little Prince Mo Yan was, and he was very likely to be a giant of the Devil's Way in the future, and no one would underestimate him. However, when they found out that it was Yi Shiwen, everyone was a little surprised. Yi Shiwen did make some names during this time, but not many people really knew him. Chapter 124. These people are also elites in the One Yuan sect, not mortals, so they moved quickly. Since they decided to besiege the little Prince Mo Yan, they moved very quickly. The little Prince Mo Yan who killed was not a small person, and he was extremely dangerous. Everyone sat down and closed their eyes, and Yi Shiwen was no exception. Sitting cross-legged under a small tree, he kept deducing martial arts in his mind, trying to make more progress before the siege began. For others, it is impossible, in such a short period of time, but for Yi Shiwen, there is continuous improvement every moment, and progress can be seen in Yi Shiwen almost every day. Now Yi Shiwen is already at the peak of the 3rd level of congenital innate. There is only one chance left. He can go a step further and step into the 4th level of congenital innate. True Yuan is a higher level of energy than innate true Qi. When the gaseous true Qi in the body is converted into a liquid state, it is true Yuan. Compared with true Qi is even more powerful and inconceivable. After condensing true Qi, one's cultivation will break through to a whole new realm, an incredible level that is far beyond what an expert at the 5th level of innate can imagine. If Yi Shiwen can step into the 4th level of innate and transform his true Qi, then he will truly have the confidence and capital to compete with the masters of the 6th level of innate. At that time, Yi Shiwen will truly surpass those inner disciples. Above, comparable to core disciples. After nightfall, many disciples withdrew their breaths and lurked in the mountains and forests. If they didn't look carefully, they would never have discovered them. Among them, Yi Shiwen's concealment was the most thorough. Even the physical appearance can be changed, let alone just restraining the breath. The moon at night was particularly round, and the strange screams of monsters in the distance came over. All of a sudden, almost all the disciples of the One Yuan sect opened their eyes, and there was a crowd of hundreds of disciples who worshipped the demon sect after they didn't know what happened. Each of them had a ferocious face, and their eyes were fierce and terrifying. "No, everyone be careful," Zhuge Xingli shouted loudly. At this time, the disciples of the devil worship finally started to act. The disciples of the devil worship in the back row sat down and made strange 5-pointed star patterns on the ground. The spiritual energy in the air instantly became violent. Under their control, the spiritual energy in the sky suddenly formed an overwhelming rain of arrows. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. There was a shrill sound of breaking the air, and an endless rain of arrows fell from the sky in an instant. The faces of many disciples changed drastically. With so many arrows, one would be shot into a hedgehog by accident. This is not an ordinary sharp arrow. For ordinary sharp arrows, these are all masters who have reached the innate realm. Not afraid, but they are also extremely jealous of the arrow rain composed of this kind of spiritual energy. "Damn, how come there are so many devil cubs here?" That Xiao Jin scolded in a low voice, waved his big hand, and suddenly formed a big gaseous hand in the sky. Thousands of aura arrows rained. "Damn it!" Yi Shiwen pulled out the long sword with a chang, and instantly formed a sword curtain in midair, protecting himself in it. At this time, the power of the moonless slash was fully manifested. To deal with a warrior whose realm is lower than his own, it is almost a deadly instant kill, a group battle killer. But even so, it's not a long-term solution. However, the others were not as easy as Yi Shiwen. Those disciples at the peak of the 5th level of the congenital had to gather together to resist the arrow rain in one direction. There was no problem with safety for a while. They are not as powerful as Yi Shiwen, who has a group battle weapon like the Kuei slash, and can protect themselves, and they cannot have the same profound skills as Zhuge Xingli and other core disciples. It can advance and retreat freely in the arrow rain, forming a protective shield in the air to protect itself. The evildoer is looking for death. Zhuge Xingli sneered, his body turned into a lightning bolt, and flew into the sky, and the long sword in his hand instantly danced a long light dragon, towards the disciples of the demon worship sect who flew over. Go. These disciples of the demon worship cult, who are generally only in the 4th and 5th layers of the innate, can't stop them. They were cut off by the middle of the road, and they turned into a blood mist in the sky, and the screams were too late. And taking advantage of this opportunity, Shui Yuan swept out one by one. Su Bai's palm stretched out, grabbed a large palm in the air, and pressed it down towards the disciples of the demon worship who arranged the magic circle. Boom! The huge gasification palm pressed down. Those disciples who worshipped the demon sect screamed and were crushed into meat patties, unable to fight back at all. Come out, you don't want us to kill all these minions. At this time, Zheng Yijiao said coldly. Ha ha ha, as expected of a disciple of the One Yuan sect, he really has some means, no wonder he dares to come and kill this prince, he is not small. Suddenly a loud laugh came from a distance, and then, swept away from a distance passing a long rainbow, a figure riding a strange beast flew all the way from a distance. Everyone in the One Yuan sect took a closer look, but saw that it was a young man dressed in an ink-colored robe with an extremely gloomy expression, slowly falling from the alien beast. Little Prince Mo Yan. Zhuge Xingli stared at the young man in front of him. The disciples of the One Yuan sect became nervous in an instant, and even Yi Shiwen was more vigilant. After all, even these arrogant disciples had to be careful about the shadow of the famous tree. Zhuge Xingli, I've heard of your name. You are considered the number one among the core disciples of the One Yuan sect, but you are known to be unparalleled in wisdom, but you still fell into the trap of this prince. Little Prince Mo Yan sneer again and again. The expressions of the many disciples of the One Yuan sect suddenly became ugly. They thought that this time they were to surround and kill the little Prince Mo Yan, but now it seems that they have fallen into the trap of the little Prince Mo Yan. Little Prince Mo Yan, today is your day of death. Today, you really fell into the trap, and you will die. Our true disciple of the sect, Luo Yifan, is not far from here. When he arrives, it will be your day of death. Xiao Jin, speak up. Chapter 125 Breakthrough, Innate 4th Layer. When it came to the true disciple Luo Yifan, many disciples immediately became imposing. Yes, the true disciples are not far away. As long as these evildoers can be dragged down, they will die, and they will never escape. Although the little Prince Mo Yan is outstanding, he is only at the core disciple level. Of course, he cannot be compared with Luo Yifan at the true disciple level. Even the weakest true disciple is still extremely powerful for them in the innate realm. Hey, the little Prince Mo Yan sneered coldly, I'm afraid you won't be able to wait any longer. Do you think that this prince has no preparation at all after knowing your conspiracy? That true disciple should be taught by me at this time. The middle and high-level masters are entangled, whether they can escape is still a question, you still expect him to save you, ha ha ha, what a joke. The little Prince Mo Yan said, grabbing a half-dead figure. Zhuge Xingli and others, the person's face suddenly looked bad. That was their informant, and it was from him that they got the information that the little Prince Mo Yan would pass through here today. This guy is eating inside and out, damn it. The little Prince Mo Yan said. A murderous look flashed across his face, a claw caught him, followed by a scream of the figure, and then at a speed visible to the naked eye, he was sucked into people do it. This time you are all going to die. Little Prince Mo Yan said with a sneer. In the distant sky, 10 figures fluttered their wings and flew over. Through the faint moonlight, Yi Shiwen saw that it was a humanoid monster, about 2 meters high, covered with black scales, dark body, fierce eyes and fangs, with 2 horns on the head and a pair of bat-like wings behind it constantly fluttering. Great devil! Many disciples instantly recognized this kind of creature. There are many creatures in the demon world. There are tens of millions of intelligent groups, and the largest number of them is the legend in the real martial arts world. There is no doubt that the most widely circulated in the world is this kind of big demon. This kind of big demon belongs to the demon family in the demon world. There are very large numbers. Although it is only the role of cannon fodder in the army of the demon world, its strength is also extremely powerful. At birth, It is the strength of the peak of the acquired realm, and it is at least the strength of the innate 6th level or above in adulthood. Very difficult. Although Yi Shiwen and other inner disciples have not really seen the big devil, it does not mean that they do not know that in the country of Deu, the number of demon worshippers has always been small, especially when compared with several major forces such as the One Yuan sect. So every time there is chaos, a large number of big demons from the demon world are mixed in it. / Damn, these beasts, Zhuge Xingli said with an ugly face. The appearance of these big demons indicates that there should be a teleportation formation somewhere, so these scumbags of the demon world can come here. These stupid humans dare to block our great demon army. I really don't know whether to live or die. Jia, just in time, I just came from the demon world, and I just caught it for blood. A big demon stretched out his scarlet tongue and licked it. Black lips, Jia smiled strangely. The thoughts of these great demons are exactly the same as those of the disciples who worship the demons. They only regarded humans as food for blood. It should not be said that the disciples of the demons were all descended from these demons. I really don't know what to do. Do you think this is the devil world? When I came to the real martial arts world, I still want to leave. Zheng Yijiao sneered, looking at the 10 big demons with disgust and murderous intent in their eyes. Don't talk nonsense with them, do it. Little Prince Mo Yan shouted. A steel fork appeared in his hand, like a black lightning bolt, and instantly assassinated Zhuge Xingli. At this time, the 10 big demons gave a strange cry, pulled out a long spear, and rushed towards the core disciples. The battle exploded in an instant. This was the worst fight ever. Zhuge Xingli and the little Prince Mo Yan faced each other, and the strength of the two sides was almost equal. If Zhuge Xingli had no power, how dare he plan to kill the little Prince Mo Yan? Except for Zhuge Xingli, each of the other 3 people was instantly entangled by 3 big demons. The reason why this big demon is called cannon fodder is that in addition to its large number, its strength is also stronger than the average one. Level characters are worse. However, the number of 3 heads instantly put the 3 of them at a disadvantage and resisted hard. And the remaining big demon rushed towards the more than 20 inner disciples with a group of disciples who worship the devil. Immediately, the faces of these inner disciples changed drastically. There were hundreds of these disciples of the demon cult. There were dozens of people at the peak of the 5th level of the innate, and the others were the masters of the 4th level of the innate. It is enough to slaughter them all. Even if they are all outstanding, they are all the top masters among the inner disciples of the One Yuan sect, but they can't stand so many of them, not to mention there is a core disciple level. Big devil. Simply irresistible. Jia, you stupid human beings, you'd better serve me as blood food. The big demon Jia gave a weird laugh, and a locked gun instantly moved towards a younger brother who was at the peak of the 5th innate level, and the long gun instantly get out. PFF'd. The long spear stabbed the disciple in the opposite direction in an instant, and the disciple didn't even have time to react, and was stabbed to death, pierced through the heart. The corpse was nailed to the ground, and the blood that flowed out was washed away. Contaminated and black. Immediately, the morale of many inner disciples dropped. If it was only those disciples who worshipped the demon sect, they were not afraid. Although there were many people, they only needed to form a formation to protect themselves. It won't be much for a while, but this big devil has the strength of the 6th level innate. And they are not on the same level anymore. Jia, that's right, just be bloody food for me. The big devil said with a strange smile. The ghost is going to feed you blood, you beast. Suddenly a loud shout came from the group of disciples, and a terrifying sword light instantly slashed out and rushed towards the big demon. The big demon quickly raised his hand to block it. Dang! There was a sound like a symphony of gold and iron, and the sword light slashed on the big devil's arm full of black scales, and there was a burst of lightning and flint. These scales are no less than ordinary inner armor, and their defense is very strong. Everyone looked over, but saw Yi Shiwen walking out slowly with a knife, and said indifferently, if you don't even have the courage to clean up this beast, why don't you kill yourself with a knife? Many disciples were immediately ashamed. Yes, they are all elites and geniuses among the inner disciples. They all want to hold an invincible heart, pursue the peak of martial arts, and reach the top. Yes, fighting with these beasts, what a big deal. Kill all these beasts. The morale of many disciples was instantly lifted. When the big devil saw this, he suddenly screamed, stretched out his hand and grabbed it. The long spear instantly returned to its hand, the tip of the spear flickered a little, and immediately stabbed towards Yi Shiwen. Bang! Yi Shiwen's blade slammed into the long spear, and a terrifying explosion sounded from where it touched. The terrifying power of the big demon made Yi Shiwen retreat 5 or 6 steps, and the big demon was not moving. The power of the great demon itself is much greater than that of human beings, not to mention that it is a great demon of the 6th level of innate, and its power is even more outrageous. There are definitely more than 100 flying dragons contained in the body. All released. Yi Shiwen was shocked by Julie, and his chest was tight for a while, and he almost spit out a mouthful of blood, but Yi Shiwen's eyes were firmer, staring coldly at the big devil. The big demon roared into the sky, seemingly provoked by Yi Shiwen. He immediately waved his spear and stabbed at Yi Shiwen. The air was reddened by friction and burned violently. The big devil just stabbed Yi Shiwen with a straight shot. This marksmanship has been immersed in the bone marrow. It's very deep. Yi Shiwen didn't care. He charged forward with gritted teeth, and the dominant body art on his body was fully activated. Bang! Nose! Bang! The two sides fought at an extremely fast speed and collided fiercely. Each time it ended with Yi Shiwen's mad retreat, but each time Yi Shiwen retreated the number of steps. In the continuous decrease, Yi Shiwen's true chi was surging, and his black hair was scattered. Although he was constantly repelled, his aura was not bad at all, like the resurrection of an ancient overlord. The tyrannical character of the tyrant body art was vividly embodied by Yi Shiwen at this time. The tyrant is invincible, and the tyrant has no fear. The momentum is also rising crazy. The big devil was secretly shocked, completely unimaginable. Yi Shiwen was actually so terrifying, and he didn't know what kind of cultivation technique he was practicing. It can be seen that Yi Shiwen is breaking through, and he must not be allowed to break through. Die! The big demon shouted loudly, and the spear stabbed out in an instant. The magnetic storm burst the air, and instantly killed Yi Shiwen. Boom! Yi Shiwen raised his hand, raised his knife and slashed towards the tip of the spear, and a terrifying force set off a terrifying wave of air that swept away. Yi Shiwen only felt that a terrifying force was pressing down on him, and the head on Yi Shiwen's body was crackling, and he was about to be crushed. The infuriating energy in Yi Shiwen was also running wildly. Breakthrough! 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 Yi Shiwen shouted in his heart. The terrifying power and the true chi in his body mingled together in his body. Boom! Under the suppression of the terrifying force, Yi Shiwen's dominant body art finally broke through to the 2nd level of achievement in one fell swoop. The power starts to soar from the power of 100 flying dragons all the way. The power of 101 flying dragons. The power of 102 flying dragons. Yi Shiwen's realm was finally driven by this power, and broke through to the 4th level of innateness. Yi Shiwen only felt that the true chi in his body was constantly transforming into a new and powerful force. Chapter 126 Reversal of the Situation. The innate junchi in Yi Shiwen's body is constantly transforming into a kind of liquid energy, and he can feel a huge ability just by flowing in the body. Yi Shiwen's momentum is still soaring, and his strength has not yet reached its peak. How is that possible? The big devil stared at Yi Shiwen in a stunned manner. How could someone make such progress at once after breaking through? It's not that he has never seen the peak of the 5th level of the innate to break through to the 6th level of the innate, but he has never seen it grow so much at once. Yi Shiwen's momentum has slowly climbed to the power of 120 flying dragons, which is not inferior to it, but it hasn't stopped. How can there be such a terrifying person, such a terrifying practice? What kind of practice is he practicing? The innate chi in Yi Shiwen's body has not been completely transformed into true essence, and even after only a little more than 1/3 of the transformation, he already possesses the power of 120 flying dragons. Although the power of 50 flying dragons is far from the limit of the power of 199 flying dragons that can be possessed by the 6th innate congenital layer, it is definitely far more than the big devil in the 6th innate congenital layer. How is that possible? The big demon roared and attacked Yi Shiwen again. The spear slashed in the air. After passing a strange angle, it stabbed straight at Yi Shiwen, like lightning. Yi Shiwen sneered, and in an instant, the long knife was slashed out. The sword light condensed with the power of true essence was much greater than the ability to condense with innate ingenuity before. It instantly defeated the opponent's spear light, and the blades slashed fiercely on top of the big devil's spear. When a terrifying distance reverberated between the two weapons, and that terrifying distance reverberated to the two of them. This time, the situation was completely reversed. Yi Shiwen just held the long knife motionless, and the big devil's hand was almost pierced. When it was shaken, the tiger's mouth was completely cracked. Almost all the guns collapsed. The big devil's eyes widened, but Yi Shiwen didn't care about it at all, and then he slashed out again, and he was unforgiving. The big demon blocked, and immediately retreated several steps all the way before unloading Yi Shiwen's terrifying power, and almost fell indirectly. Yi Shiwen took a stride, pounced on it, swung the long knife, and swayed it indirectly. The light of the knife flickered, the big demon screamed, and Yi Shiwen took off one arm. There was a look of horror and fear on the face of this cruel and bloodthirsty demon. It finally realized that he may die at the hands of this human. How could there be such a terrible human being? Seeing that Yi Shiwen completely overwhelmed this great demon, the inner disciples of the One Yuan sect who had been defeated by the demon worship disciples were immediately boosted, and they were still saved, and they still had hope, and this hope was Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen didn't know that he had become the savior in the eyes of others, but now in his eyes, there is only one target left, and that is this big devil. Yi Shiwen's chi machine is firmly locked on this big devil. The complexion on his body was icy cold, and Yi Shiwen showed no sympathy or strangeness for these cruel big demons. The big devil still doesn't understand that he has completely fallen into the disadvantage. Yi Shiwen's momentum has completely overwhelmed him at this moment, and his strength has completely broken through the power of 130 flying dragons. It's terrifying. The big devil didn't even have time to pick up the long spear on the ground, and immediately jumped up and flew into the disciples who worshipped the devil. Yi Shiwen sneered and wanted to leave. Without the slightest hesitation, Yi Shiwen immediately chased him in, flying high and crashing into the crowd of demon worshippers. Yi Shiwen did not restrain his own scent at all, and slammed into the huge power of true distance among the disciples of the demon-worshipping sect and scattered, and a storm formed in an instant. Being knocked out, a mouthful of blood suddenly spewed out, and he passed out. For Yi Shiwen, who has broken through to the 4th level of the innate, and his combat effectiveness is comparable to that of the 6th level of the innate, these are just the 4th level of the innate, and the disciples of the 5th level of the innate demon worship are not opponents at all. In the innate realm, the 5th layer of the innate realm and the 6th layer of the innate nature are a very clear watershed. Compared with the 5th layer of the innate nature, there is an essential improvement, and the true essence completely surpasses the innate energy. Although Yi Shiwen didn't reach the 6th level of the innate, but after converting the innate chi in his body into true essence, it was actually comparable to the 6th level of the innate. These demon worshippers were not his opponents at all. PFF'd. Yi Shiwen chopped off half of the body of a demon worshipper with one knife, and in the blink of an eye, Yi Shiwen had already closed the knife and chased the big demon. The big devil was also very cunning. He ran towards the crowded place, trying to block Yi Shiwen with the disciples of the demon cult behind him. In his opinion, these disciples of the demon cult were the same as those with 2 feet. Ordinary human beings are no different. However, Yi Shiwen's light work is amazing. He has already practiced Tianxianbu to a great extent. His body moves quickly through the disciples of the demon worship cult. Wherever he passes, the light of the sword flies, forming a faint curtain of swords to wrap himself in among them. Those disciples of the demon cult who encountered that layer of sword curtain would either die or be disabled. It was because Yi Shiwen was anxious to hunt down the big demon, otherwise none of these demon cult disciples would be able to escape. Get out, kill, close the knife, keep chasing. In just a few breaths, more than 30 disciples of the demon worship cult were either dead or disabled, all of whom were injured in Yi Shiwen's hands. Immediately, the disciples who worshipped the demon cult gave way, and no one dared to approach Yi Shiwen again. It was true that they worshipped the demon race, but almost all of them were ruthless and selfish. Demons die. These humble human beings are really unreliable. The big demon couldn't help cursing when he saw that the disciples who worshipped the demon cult stepped aside. Without the restraint of the demon worship disciples, Yi Shiwen caught up with the big demon almost instantly. Yi Shiwen's face was expressionless. At this time, he was almost breathing, and he could clearly feel that he was getting stronger and stronger. One jump to catch up with the big demon, Yi Shiwen shouted, and the knife that was more than 10 meters long suddenly lit up. When it was split out, the sword light was like a god of death, reaping their lives every week. Several disciples of the demon sect blocking the road were crushed into minced meat in an instant, all the way to the front of the big devil. PFF'd. The sword light entered the body, and indirectly cut a huge hole in the body of the big demon. Boom! Hearing a loud noise, the true energy of the big demon exploded, and the strong body of the big demon was instantly exploded into a mass of minced meat and disappeared into the air. Everyone was stunned for a moment, but they didn't expect Yi Shiwen to be able to kill a big devil. I never expected to turn the tables, but Yi Shiwen actually did it. After beheading the big demon, Yi Shiwen's aura climbed to the peak, and his power finally climbed to the power of 150 flying dragons, which has reached the peak that he can achieve now. Yi Shiwen only felt that it was unprecedentedly powerful. Breathing could cause the surrounding air to resonate together, and casually exhaling, even without using any true chi or true essence, could form a billowing wave of air around him. The power of the innate 6th layer is indeed far greater than that of the innate 5th layer. Yi Shiwen, be careful! Zhuge Xingli shouted suddenly from a distance. A terrifying dim light shot out from a distance and came straight towards Yi Shiwen. Even after the breakthrough, Yi Shiwen felt a cold feeling that made the hairs stand upside down, and his body reacted instantly. Tianxianbu took a step, and took a few meters to avoid this path. Light. Boom. This dim light slammed into the place where Yi Shiwen was standing before, blasting out a big hole. Yi Shiwen was immediately dripping with cold sweat. If he had been hit indirectly, even with his current physical strength, he would have been seriously injured by the blast. Yi Shiwen only regained his senses. Looking at it, the attack just now was actually shot by the little Prince Mo Yan indirectly. At this time, Yi Shiwen had not been hit, and there was a look of unwillingness on his face. Don't think about making another move. Zhuge Xingli was overjoyed when he saw Yi Shiwen's breakthrough. He understood that the key to breaking the deadlock this time was Yi Shiwen, and he took over the attack on Mo Yanzhao. Prince, he must not be allowed to spare time to shoot at Yi Shiwen. At this time, Yi Shiwen no longer hesitated, and jumped into the disciples of the demon cult. Although the current Yi Shiwen was not the opponent of the little Prince Mo Yan, he still had no problem dealing with these disciples of the demon cult. Brush, brush, brush. Where Yi Shiwen's sword light flashed, the disciples who worshipped the demon sect left their heads one after another. Immediately, the inner disciples of the One Yuan sect felt the pressure was greatly reduced. With Yi Shiwen nailed in front, their pressure was much less, and they immediately calmed down. A lot of. However, at this time, several core disciples of the One Yuan sect were the first to be unable to stop them, and they began to show signs of defeat. The little Prince Mo Yan showed a cruel smile on his face. In his opinion, as long as he succeeded, these ordinary worshippers, no matter how many disciples of the demon sect die, it is worth it. Suddenly, a long whistle came from the sky. Chapter 127 Did you kill Luo Tian? Suddenly, a long whistle came from the sky. At first, the long whistling sound seemed to be still in the sky, but after a while, it was not very far away, and the whole air that could already vibrate began to set off layers of air waves. The faces of everyone changed drastically. This person's skill is too terrifying, and it can cause such a degree of air tumbling even at such a distance. True master. The little Prince Mo Yan's face changed greatly, because he heard it. This is not a master of his own demon worship. He immediately made a decision and shouted, "Withdraw." The disciples of the demon sect did not hesitate at all, and immediately dropped their opponents and turned to evacuate. Chase or not? Muji asked. Forget it. Stop chasing. The poor bandits don't chase. They are just afraid of senior brother Luo Yifan. We can't take advantage of it if we catch up. Zhuge Xingli said indifferently, looking at the backs of little Prince Mo Yan and others. He had already heard that the master was the senior Luo Yifan he knew. Yi Shiwen looked at the backs of the little Prince Mo Yan and the others leaving quickly, and sighed inwardly. This little Prince Mo Yan was definitely a heroic figure, and he was decisive in killing. When it was time to evacuate, he didn't hesitate at all. He is also a ruthless man, and it has been a lot since then. But Yi Shiwen didn't think about it carefully, because when he was thinking about it, a figure appeared on a branch not far away, but it was a young man who was estimated to be in his 20s and dressed in a blue robe. A powerful aura unleashed unscrupulously. Senior Brother Luo, Senior Brother Yifan, Senior Brother Ping, Zhuge Xingli and other 3 core disciples stepped forward to greet him first, but those inner disciples didn't quite know the young man in front of them. In addition, those true disciples are always ghosts, and it is normal for others to not know unless they are relatively close. Thanks to Senior Brother Luo this time, otherwise, we'd be in serious trouble. Zhuge Xingli commented. Yeah, this time, thanks to Senior Brother Luo, I was able to scare away the little Prince Mo Yan halfway. Xiao Jin also said with a smile, this time the form was originally very dangerous, and if it was delayed for a while, then the time would come. The problem will be these disciples of the One Yuan school. The battle strength of the core disciple level is really far behind. Even with Yi Shiwen, who has just broken through to the 6th level of the innate, the fundamental battle situation cannot be reversed. Luo Yifan glanced at the corpse of the demon-worshipping disciple on the ground with a trace of disgust in his eyes. This time, those evildoers who worship the demon sect were already prepared, and they actually sent a master to stop me. So it's so late, Luo Yifan said lightly. At this time, several black shadows crossed the sky, and several figures fell from the sky riding various fierce birds. All of them were powerful and imposing, and all of them were masters at the core disciple level. Senior Brother Luo, we have all dealt with the remnants of the demon cult. This time, we have caught a big fish. It turned out to be an elder of the demon cult in Dayu. A core disciple said excitedly. Yi Shiwen heard the exclamations of the inner disciples around him, and even an elder who worshipped the demon sect was folded into Luo Yifan's hands. You must know that the elders who worshipped the demon sect in Dayu were at the level of true disciples. True disciples, known as real people, mean to return to the original and already understand some people who understand the truth of heaven and earth. Don't talk about their inner disciples, even those core disciples, don't they have to look up? Such a master fell into Luo Yifan's hands, and it only took such a short time, showing Luo Yifan's strength. Yi Shiwen had long expected that these demon worshippers dared to besiege himself and others so calmly, and he was not afraid of Luo Yifan coming over. Wherever behead it. These monsters really don't know how to live or die. They dare to imagine that they will kill my disciples of the One Yuan sect. Luo Yifan said disdainfully, not caring at all. Zhuge Xingli introduced these inner disciples to Luo Yifan, and these inner disciples were also a little excited. After all, there was a true disciple standing in front of him. Luo Yifan was not very interested at first, but when he was introduced to Yi Shiwen, Luo Yifan's eyes suddenly flickered, and a terrifying momentum spread out, locking Yi Shiwen firmly. The scene in the field suddenly changed, and everyone was a little stunned. I don't know why the high-ranking true disciple Luo Yifan suddenly shot at Yi Shiwen, although this was especially true for Zhuge Xingli and others. Although Yi Shiwen's breakthrough, his combat effectiveness was comparable to that of the core disciples, but it's not worth Luo Yifan's hands-on. Yi Shiwen only felt a terrifying aura overwhelming his body, and the real energy in his body revolved wildly, resisting Luo Yifan's terrifying aura. If it wasn't for the innate qi in Yi Shiwen's body being transformed into true essence, I'm afraid that Luo Yifan would make Yi Shiwen kneel down, just like facing a beast from ancient times, choosing someone to devour. Yi Shiwen's body seemed to be under 1,000 jins of force, and the bones on his body rubbed together to make a crackling sound, looking very infiltrating. Senior Brother Luo, what's going on? Shui Yuan asked. She didn't understand why Luo Yifan suddenly wanted to shoot Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen broke out in cold sweat, soaked through his clothes, and his face was a little pale. This was the first time he felt the terror of a true master, even if his combat strength was comparable to that of a core disciple. Compared with a real true disciple, there was still a sky in the sky. Different from ordinary difference. Senior Brother Luo, what do you mean? Yi Shiwen's body was trembling, his steel teeth clenched tightly so that he would not be overwhelmed by the terrifying aura. Tell me, was Luo Tian killed by you? Luo Yifan's voice was like a violent lion shouting, straight into his heart, causing Yi Shiwen's mind to be crushed by life. What Luo Tian? I don't know at all. The most important bald head, the mysterious space in Yi Shiwen's mind suddenly emitted bursts of light, protecting Yi Shiwen's consciousness. At the most critical moment, Yi Shiwen woke up and said quickly. My heart was horrified. It turned out to be for Luo Tian. Luo Yifan was also surnamed Luo. Could it be Luo Tian's relatives? But at this time, Yi Shiwen couldn't ask anything. He doesn't know any Luo Tian. Absolutely not loose. Yi Shiwen knew that if he admitted that Luo Tian was killed by him, then Luo Yifan would definitely dare to kill himself in front of everyone, and the true disciple was like an elder. There is such a person who protects the wrong. No wonder Luo Tian is so daring and dares to kill Hua Mengan. Luo Yifan's eyes flickered, staring at Yi Shiwen, as if thinking about the truth of what Yi Shiwen said. He only judged from some clues that Yi Shiwen might have something to do with Luo Tian's death. Luo Tian didn't know if he had to count Hua Mengan, and if he died, he would die in vain. Hua Mengan was the first closed disciple of Wang Yupeak, and his status was equivalent to these true disciples. He can't do anything to Hua Mengan, but Yi Shiwen is different. He is just an inner disciple, with tens of thousands of inner disciples. It's nothing to die, and it's nothing to be punished. Therefore, just now he used a sonic martial art, which can directly shoot his heart and soul. Even a true disciple will be affected, not to mention a small inner disciple, and his heart and soul will be intimidated. Say. Of course, there are no drawbacks, that is, the mind of the practitioner may be affected, ranging from recuperation for a period of time, or even repairing at worst. But what does this do to him? He only needs to know the answer he wants. Looking at Yi Shiwen, Luo Yifan's eyes were a little uncertain. Could it not be him? After all, he was very confident in his martial arts, and no one could escape. After a long time, Luo Yifan withdrew his gaze, restrained his aura, glanced at Yi Shiwen coldly, and said, It's best not to let me know that you have something to do with Luo Tian's death, otherwise you will die very ugly. Luo Yifan didn't care what everyone was thinking. He stepped on it and stepped out a rainbow light, and his figure disappeared into the sky immediately, and the core disciples who came with him also followed. Are you all right? Shui Yuan asked, although she and Yi Shiwen were not very familiar with each other, but in general, they fought side by side just now, and naturally they had some affection. It's all right. Yi Shiwen smiled bleakly. His heart was boiling with killing intent. Yes, that killing intent was aimed at Luo Yifan, but Yi Shiwen had already practiced the breath relief gong to a very high level, even if the killing intent in his chest was boiling. Expose every cent. If it is known, I am afraid that I will die of laughter. An inner disciple dares to kill a true disciple, but for Yi Shiwen, it is nothing. The true disciple is also a human being. Sooner or later, he will be able to reach such a situation. This Luo Yifan is definitely a ruthless man. As long as there is a little evidence, he would rather kill him than let him go, and judging from Luo Yifan's words before he left, it is not that he has no doubts, but there is no evidence, and Hua Mengan carries it. After most of the responsibilities, I didn't continue to investigate, but this is not the way to go. The best way is to kill more than 1 in 100. The killing intent in Yi Shiwen's heart slowly began to extend. Chapter 128 Yi Feng asks for help. Time passed day by day, and in the blink of an eye, more than 2 months had passed since the siege of the little prince Mo Yan. Yi Shiwen did not join Zhu Xingli and the others, but left them soon. In the past 2 months, Yi Shiwen roamed all over the country of Deu, trying to eradicate the believers who worshipped demons. Because of the spread of demons, the whole country of Deu was in flames, and a catastrophe unseen in 100 years came to this place in an instant, in the country. It is not only the transcendent forces such as Yi Yuanzong who have taken action, but the royal family of the Deu kingdom can't help but dispatch the royal guards. It is a terrifying unit. The master of the congenital realm is the terrifying killing machine of the royal family of the great Vietnam kingdom. In addition to the guards, the Deued army was completely mobilized, and many troops, such as the frontier army, the county soldiers, and the local garrison, were ordered to kill the nearby demon worshippers overnight. Although Yi Shiwen's combat power is comparable to that of the core disciples of the 6th level Shantian, the scale of the chaos of the demon cult this time has been unseen in a century. It can be said that they have been in distress many times, and there have also been situations where their lives are on the line. After 3 months of training, Yi Shiwen has undergone a reborn change. His position has also been completely consolidated at the peak of the innate 4th layer. His strength has reached the power of 200 flying dragons, and his combat power is also at the innate 6th layer, and the 7th layer of the innate. Yi Shiwen, who was more than 10 or 2 months ago, would not be his opponent now, otherwise it would not be called a rebirth. In the past 3 months, what Yi Shiwen has pondered the most is the comprehension of the 3rd level of the painting body art. After 10,000 pieces of mid-grade spirit stones in the space, the eyebrows gradually appeared, and the outline was already out. In addition, Yi Shiwen spent most of his time comprehending Dragon Palm in the mysterious space. In that mysterious space, that thought was still rehearsing Dragon Palm over and over again. No internal skills, no tricks, how much you can comprehend depends on your own talent. For this kind of martial arts in ancient times, even many geniuses will be at a loss when they see it, but Yi Shiwen has that mysterious space. As long as he has enough spirit stones, he can record Dragon Palm into a cocoon, show all the essentials in front of Yi Shiwen, so that Yi Shiwen can easily grasp it. If there is no such mysterious space, Yi Shiwen would not have realized that thought. I am afraid that his consciousness will be destroyed by that thought. In more than 2 months, Yi Shiwen smashed 15,000 medium-grade spirit stones, and finally deduced the second form of Dragon Palm, the dragon swinging tail, and mastered the first glimpse of the door. Unlike Qianlong Chuyuan, Shenlong's tail swing is a great weapon for group battles. One move is like a Shenlong tail swing, and enemies within a large area can be attacked. In a mountain village, there were corpses all over the place. After the corpse was sucked dry, it became a mummified corpse lying on the side of the road. A battle is unfolding in the center of the village. A group of disciples of the demon cult surrounded a blue figure in the middle to besiege. Arrive! A blade of light flashed, and a terrifying blade slashed out fiercely among the disciples of the demon cult. Bang! 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 Several disciples of the demon cult couldn't dodge and were split in half. Yi Shiwen's figure is like a fairy, handsome and elegant. Wherever Yi Shiwen's figure appears among these disciples of the devil worship, the disciples of the devil worship will be indirectly hacked to death. Yi Shiwen didn't hold back, and Yi Shiwen didn't have the slightest liking for these evildoers who had joined the demon worship cult. PFF'd, PFF'd, PFF'd. Where Yi Shiwen's sword light went, flesh and blood flew, blood spattered. These demons finally understood the fear in the hearts of the villagers who were killed by them, but unfortunately Yi Shiwen would not give them a lot of time to think about the beheading by the light of the sword, and immediately separated their heads. With just a cup of tea, Yi Shiwen killed all the disciples of the demon cult. Yi Shiwen breathed a sigh of relief. These monsters seemed to have been slaughtered for 100 years. They all came. The demon worship cult is a huge force that spreads across the entire Junwu world. If its forces are combined, it will be much stronger than that of Wuzong. The worship of demons in Deua is only a part of it. After reading the Salvation of Human Beings for these villagers, Yi Shiwen was about to call Shan and return to the One Yuan sect. He had been doing this all the time these days, picking up tasks and completing them. The rewards for these demon worship missions are indeed very rich. In the past few months, Yi Shiwen has accumulated more than 3,000 middle-grade spirit stones. Although it is not too much for him now, it is not too much, not enough. Suddenly, a stream of light flashed across the sky, and a talisman flew into Yi Shiwen's hands. It was a messenger talisman. This messenger talisman glowed with a mysterious light. It was obviously a high-end item, not an ordinary messenger talisman. Yi Shiwen recognized this kind of talisman, and it was very noble. One piece would cost 300 middle-grade spirit stones, but the effect was very good. Yi Shizhenyuan, a line of words appeared in front of Yi Shiwen. Little brother, our disciples of Qianyu Pavilion are trapped in Qiandao City, come quickly. When Yi Shiwen saw the signature, it was Yi Feng. Indica of Qiandao City immediately appeared in his mind. After entering the innate realm, his body underwent a transformation, and his brain was no exception. He was extremely smart, far surpassing ordinary people, and he would never forget what he had seen. Qiandao City is located in a place near the sea in the southwest of Deu Kingdom. It is a place where a long river flows. At the mouth of the sea, it was hid by the river in various places, forming many islands, and this city is located in above these small islands is the origin of Qiandao City. It is also very far away from the One Yuan sect. How could it go so far? But Yi Shiwen almost didn't even think about it, so he called Shan, jumped up, and quickly walked in the direction of Qiandao City. On the east side of the country of Deu is the sea, with boundless blue waves. No one knows how big it is. In the depths of the East China Sea, there are not only many powerful sects standing, but also many powerful water monsters, and even powerful and intelligent monsters. Constrain and control those weak monsters to form a kingdom of monsters. On the mainland, humans are the hegemons. Of course, the existence of such a kingdom of monsters will not be allowed, but in the depths of the East China Sea, there are monsters. The old nest, even the true masters dare not go too deep. In short, the depths of the East China Sea is a very dangerous forbidden area. No matter which sect is in, the depths of the East China Sea are included in the forbidden area, and ordinary disciples are not allowed to approach at all. However, within the range of 3,000 miles of coastline, it is better. There is a large faction of humans, and ordinary monsters do not dare to get too close, so it is better. The speed of the crane is extremely fast, but it is really far away from the southwest. After flying for a long time, Yi Shiwen is really anxious, because Yi Shiwen remembered something before, that is, Qiandao City seems to be caught in a lot of demon worship. In the siege of the disciples of the sect, that is to say, Yi Feng and the others are likely to face the siege of a large number of disciples of the demon worship cult, and they are in jeopardy. After flying for most of the day, the banquet was completely obscured by night, and a city could be seen looming in the fog from a distance. Because of its proximity to the sea, this thousand-island city is covered in fog for most of the year. Qiandao City, which originally had a population of 1 million, was not crowded at this time. Instead, the roars of powerful monsters could be heard in the night. Yi Shiwen jumped down from the crane's back in midair. It just landed on a small island, and suddenly there are countless water frogs around, shouting and rushing over. The water frog is a relatively low-level aquatic monster, but the biggest feature is that there are many, very many, even if the strength is not strong. But at every turn hundreds of thousands of them are dispatched together. Even the masters have to run away. Yi Shiwen didn't want to let these water frogs get entangled. Yi Shiwen stepped on his feet, and immediately a very terrifying energy was thrown out. Boom! Those water frogs were instantly turned into powder by the terrifying energy. Yi Shiwen didn't have time to entangle with these water frogs. Although there were a lot of these water frogs, fortunately they hadn't fully dispatched, so it wouldn't be a big problem. Yi Shiwen released his true essence bodyguard. These water frogs would be shaken into powder as soon as they approached. Yi Shiwen jumped over to a roof, and swept across the middle of Qiandao City, because he could feel that there was a huge formation in the center of Qiandao City, which was running wildly. Yi Shiwen estimated that if the people in Qianyu Pavilion were still alive, they would probably be in that formation. Immediately no longer hesitated, and quickly brushed towards the center of the city. But the overall structure of the thousand-island city is made up of small islands, each of which is separated by various waterways. Yi Shiwen can't fly, so he can only fly over the roof and the water. Chapter 129 The island city of Zero was sacrificed by blood. Soon Yi Shiwen rushed to the generation in the center of the city, and a large amount of demonic energy was gathering around. Condensed into a huge formation. Big brother! Yi Shiwen shouted. The puffed-up real essence shook the air, and immediately turned into a sound wave and spread out. Although it is not as good as Luo Yifan's method, but within a radius of 10 or 20 miles around here, you can hear it clearly. Behind Yi Shiwen's current true yuan, with a loud roar, the whole air spread out like a sonic weapon. Ka! A burst of Yi Xiaoxiao's sharp laughter came from the array, and then a group of Yi Xiaoxiao screamed and fell from the dark clouds, and was shocked to death by Yi Shiwen. Little brother, we are here. Yi Shiwen's voice was endless and spread, and he was not afraid of attracting monsters or disciples of the demon cult. At this time, it was more and more important to find Yi Feng and the others. Furthermore, with the strength of Yi Feng and the others, they are indeed not powerful. Even they can't kill them quickly. It is conceivable that there will be no truly terrifying masters in charge. Hearing Yi Feng's voice, Yi Shiwen was instantly overjoyed and shouted, "Brother, wait a minute, I'll go in." Yi Shiwen flew around and was about to tear the formation with his bare hands when suddenly there were many phantoms around. Among them were some great demons and many disciples of the demonic sect. Almost all of these phantoms are above the innate, and the disciples of the demon worship are also about the 4th and 5th levels of the innate. Many of those great demons are adults, that is, the great demons around the 6th level of the innate, and even some of them are mixed. The great demon commander, the strength is very high. Jia, it really is a good way to stop this group of disciples from the One Yuan sect, and then there will be a steady stream of disciples from the One Yuan sect coming to die. A big devil's scarlet tongue added lips, cruel smile. Only then did Yi Shiwen understand why Yi Feng was besieged and still able to send out the talisman for help. It turned out to be this reason. These demons are really cunning. However, there are so many demons and disciples of the demon cult here. It seems that it should be a very important stronghold. At this time, Yi Shiwen had countless thoughts in his mind, and it was obvious that there was a huge trap in front of him to attract the disciples of the One Yuan sect. But at this time there was no other way. He couldn't just watch Yi Feng fall into the trap and ignore it. "You devils!" Yi Shiwen shouted, stepped on his feet, turned into a streamer, swept up to the sky above the formation, and immediately shot out a sword that was more than 10 meters long and slashed towards the formation. Bang! 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 Those phantom demons who were blocking the front were instantly crushed by the knife light and smashed to pieces. Boom! In the knife that smashed Yi Shiwen into the entire formation, the slash swayed. There was a strange laughter of the demons from the depths of the formation, which obviously disturbed the powerful demons in the depths of the formation. In the depths of the formation, a huge ghost stood around, and the house seemed a little small beside him. His eyes were like a pair of huge lanterns, staring intently, and in front of him was a huge whirlpool. There were bursts of cold demonic energy blowing out of it, and every once in a while, a phantom demon or a big demon would come out of it. "Lord Demon General, here comes another disciple of the elementary school of innate 6th layer." At this time, a big demon repaid the news to the ghost. "Is there only one? Talking is better than nothing," the huge ghost said, his voice booming like a bell. "The more human beings die, the better. The more they die, the better for our plan. But this is just the beginning. Don't grind those little guys in the death formation, and use them to attract more experts to come," the ghost said with a laugh. Immediately afterwards, Yi Shiwen was surrounded by many phantom demons, great demons, and disciples of the demon cult. These gloomy people surrounded Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen let out a long roar and slapped it with a palm. Immediately, a dragon roared wildly and rose into the air. A dragon transformed into true essence protected Yi Shiwen. The most authentic dragon chi suddenly burst out some weak phantoms. And many night owls were annihilated by dragon energy in an instant. Demonic energy is heaven and earth, and one of the most obscure energies is from yin to soft. Dragon energy is one of their nemesis, because dragon is the master of heaven and earth, and it is a kind of mighty righteous energy, the most demonic nemesis. Those weak demons are swept away by the dragon energy, and they will be crushed. Even if the powerful demons touch, their bodies will be burned, and the pain of Shengchang is unbearable. In the eyes of these evildoers, Yi Shiwen's dragon energy brought out by the dragon's palm is simply a big scourge. In the past, Yi Shiwen had to take away one layer of his innate true chi when he used a hidden dragon to get out of the abyss, but since the energy in Yi Shiwen's body changed from innate chi to true essence, these consumptions were almost negligible. After all, dragon out of the abyss. From the original big killer at the bottom of the box to a routinely available unique skill, this is Yi Shiwen's biggest gain during this period. But, dragon swinging tail, like the original, dragon out of the abyss, consumed a lot of real energy, almost draining half of the real energy in Yi Shiwen's body, and it couldn't be used often. Protecting his body with the dragon energy, Yi Shiwen was immediately guaranteed, and he rushed into the demons all the way. Those demons were burned by the dragon energy before they approached Yi Shiwen. They screamed in agony, and Yi Shiwen immediately waved the long knife. Taking the sword technique to the extreme, those demons who were burnt by the dragon energy could not escape the long sword in Yi Shiwen's hand, and they were all split in half immediately. The coiled dragon on Yi Shiwen's body also seemed to have aura. From time to time, the dragon's claws were deep inside, catching some demons. Yi Shiwen became more and more brave the more he fought. The dragon energy on his body was simply the nemesis of those demons, and this was what he had just discovered. Those who were below the 5th level of congenital innate, when they approached him, would make a scream, and then be beheaded by Yi Shiwen. The 6th level and 7th level demons are not Yi Shiwen's opponents. Relying on the protection of dragon energy, these powerful demons can only be reduced to Yi Shiwen's dead souls in close combat. None of the great demon captains of the innate 8th layer could get close to Yi Shiwen's body. However, Yi Shiwen also knows that this will not last long. To kill these demons will consume too much energy. Even if the real essence in his body is very thick, it is much thicker than that of ordinary people of the 6th level of congenital innate. But still can't stand such consumption. These demons are too many. Probably for true masters, it is nothing, but for Yi Shiwen, this is too much. These demons don't know where did it come from, there are really so many. Yi Shiwen secretly guessed that this is not just a stronghold. I am afraid that there is also a teleportation array set up in it, which is transmitted indirectly from the demon world, otherwise how could there be so many demons? Generally speaking, even if so many demons are dispatched, they will be discovered. Thinking of this, Yi Shiwen felt even more anxious, and couldn't continue to consume it here. Yi Shiwen slapped it with a palm, and immediately a coiled dragon flew out with a roar. Pull. With a stab, a gap was opened in the formation. Yi Shiwen jumped in, and the demons behind saw Yi Shiwen rushing in, so they could only watch the formation being replenished helplessly. Finish. Yi Shiwen searched for a while in the formation, and then found out that Xianyu Pavilion and his group were surrounded by many demons. With the help of the eldest grandson Yuyin, he kept moving the magic flute in his hand, which was able to block the demons' attack. Yi Shiwen looked. Yi Feng, Yi Rushui, Zhang Yang, eldest grandson Yuyin, Yan Qiling and other familiar people were almost all here, but all of them were masters above the congenital realm. Is this the backbone of Xianyu Pavilion's collective action? If these people are all folded, then the Thousand Feather Pavilion is basically a sign. Brother, why did you come here? Yi Shiwen stepped forward and asked. It's all my fault, I didn't think about it carefully. Yi Feng said with a sigh. How can I blame you? It was our common idea to come here, but I didn't expect these devils to be so cunning and insidious. Yan Qiling said suddenly. Then Yi Shiwen finally learned the ins and outs of the matter from Yi Rushui's mouth. This has to start from a few days ago. A few days ago, a disciple of Xianyu Pavilion learned about his hometown, and Qiandao City was subjected to demon worship. The harassment of the eldest disciple, so I wanted to go back and have a look. Later, Yan Qiling and others found out, so I wanted to simply act as a collective activity of the first faction since the establishment of Xianyu Pavilion. However, considering the chaos outside, so I only brought experts from the innate realm. The news I got was only the harassment of some demon worship disciples, and I didn't take it to heart. Who knows, when I came here, I found that the entire Qiandao city had been slaughtered. Millions people were treated as the object of blood sacrifice, and they were also besieged by the formation. What, you said, the whole city has been sacrificed in blood? Yi Shiwen gasped and asked. Chapter 131 Yuanzong's Rescue. What, you said, the entire city was sacrificed in blood? Yi Shiwen asked with a breath of cold air. Yi Shiwen couldn't help but bear it. This 1,000-island city was a big city with a population of 1 million. If these millions of people were slaughtered and used for blood sacrifice, it would definitely be a very terrifying thing. What a horrible thing that was. Yi Feng nodded solemnly and said, although I don't know what these devils are trying to do, it must be a remarkable thing. The eldest grandson Yuyin Yan Qiling and others also nodded their heads, although they are still relatively powerful. But the various branches and major forces were originally trained as elites, so the knowledge is not bad, although I don't know what the demons want to do, but it must not be a good thing. Hey, it's also my fault. I didn't think about it before, so I sent you a message for help. Yi Feng said with some annoyance, you can't change anything when you come, but another person fell into it. It's all my fault, I didn't think about it. Brother, it's not your fault. Yi Shiwen shook his head and said, those demons have long thought about using you to attract the disciples of the One Yuan sect to come continuously. Yi Shiwen told them what he had heard before, and immediately the expressions of many disciples changed greatly. If this is the case, then these demons are really vicious. It's so cunning. Then what to do? A disciple said. This is also an opportunity for us. Yi Shiwen said concentratingly, these demons are definitely not just what they appear to be. Even if they dare to ambush our masters in the One Yuan sect, they must have something to rely on. I see the demons in the formation. Soaring to the sky, there should be a big devil in charge. Now, for a while, they won't do anything to us, so we still have a chance. When the masters of our sect come, then we can take advantage of the chaos at that time. Escaped. Yi Shiwen said, this is also the main reason why Yi Shiwen knew that it was a trap and came in. This devil's abacus is very loud, but the One Yuan sect is not easy. Zhongnei can say there are countless masters, and it is not that simple to start the abacus. But at this time, although the demons obviously didn't plan to grind them to death, they didn't plan to make them feel better, and many demons surrounded and killed them. Qianlong out of the abyss. Yi Shiwen shouted loudly, and a dragon rose into the sky, and a loud dragon roar rang out around Yi Shiwen's body, protecting Yi Shiwen in it. Yi Shiwen danced out a long sword and burst of sword light. Those demons who rushed up were just like chopping melons and vegetables, and they were beheaded. He couldn't get close at all. Occasionally, a few who could be promoted were caught to death by the dragon on Yi Shiwen's body. Junior brother Yi is getting more and more asterisk. In the crowd, Zhang Yang was a little stunned when he saw Yi Shiwen's invincible appearance, and immediately understood why Yi Shiwen was surrounded by many ghosts. In-law, you must know that the demons trapped them here, just to attract the disciples of the One Yuan sect, and of course they set up layers of ambush outside. Even if the core disciples came, they would hate it. But Yi Shiwen's performance is a little too fierce, especially the dragon on his body. What kind of martial arts is it? Those people from the demon race are either dead or injured, so lifelike, almost they can feel this the dragon's prestige. The kind of dragon's prestige mastered between heaven and earth, makes people almost mistakenly think that this is not a dragon formed by energy, but a real dragon that can soar between heaven and earth, swallowing clouds and mists. What kind of exercise is this? Many disciples have such thoughts in their hearts. This exercise is simply a complete mess. Their exercises are definitely authentic, but when faced with these terrifying demons, they are often at a disadvantage, and there is no way to restrain them. But the practice Yi Shiwen practiced was simply the nemesis of those evil spirits, and it was completely powerless to fight back against those evil spirits who were completely restrained. Originally, it was necessary for the eldest grandson Yuyan to play the pseudo-spiritual magic flute from time to time. Of course, apart from Yi Shiwen's Panlong Palm, which surprised them, what they cared about most was that Yi Shiwen's skill was full of true essence. Bombardment. Yi Shiwen actually practiced his true essence. Isn't that already in the 6th level of the innate? Immediately, the faces of the disciples became a little strange, and Yi Shiwen's cultivation had improved to a terrifying level. When I met Yi Shiwen for the first time, although Yi Shiwen gained some fame, it was not comparable to the eldest grandson Yuyan and others, but it had only been half a year, and Yi Shiwen was far superior to them. Really worth it. This speed made them feel helpless. Among them, Yi Feng, the eldest grandson Yuyan, and others have only just reached the 4th level of the innate. Although they are confident that they can reach the peak of the 5th level of the innate within a few years, what should Yi Shiwen be in a few years? What kind of cultivation? They dare not imagine. Yi Feng looked at Yi Shiwen even more with a complicated expression. The younger brother in his mind who still needed to come forward to protect him had disappeared, and was replaced by the brave figure who entered the country now. At Yi Feng's side, Yi Shiwen was able to let go of his actions. He was not afraid of drying up his true essence. Once such a sign appeared, he could retreat and rest for a while, swallow the medicine pill, and replenish the consumed true essence in his body. For others, it is a torment in this formation full of demonic energy, but for Yi Shiwen, it is no different from the outside world. For him, demonic energy can also be transformed into energy for cultivation of In this place where he needs to fight constantly, it is the best place for him to improve his cultivation. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days passed. Yi Shiwen had been in the formation for 3 full days, and 3 days were enough to decide many things. Although they are located in the depths of the formation, Yi Shiwen and others can still feel that there are often people outside the formation, but they are obviously unsuccessful, and the vibration soon disappears. Obviously, not everyone has the strength of Yi Shiwen, able to break in. From the very beginning, everyone was excited when there was movement, and now they have gradually gotten used to it. On this day, in the curtain, the magic energy of the entire formation suddenly became violent and began to flow crazily. Yi Shiwen and others were taken aback. What was the situation? Because before, even some masters of the 9th level of innate were not able to enter the formation. Such drastic fluctuations. These fluctuations prove that this formation is running frantically and is resisting someone's attack. Boom! The entire formation was shaking. Everyone's faces were full of joy, and there were powerful characters who appeared to save them, so the chances of them being able to go out were naturally much higher. Yi Shiwen only felt that the entire Qiandao city under the formation was about to collapse, and he was speechless, too terrifying. I am afraid that even the previous Luo Yifan could not do it. It is true that ordinary disciples of the true way cannot do it. But after the joy, everyone's faces began to become solemn. After all, this was the time when they were most likely to get out of trouble, and the demons, at the critical moment, might really kill them. Everyone should pay attention, be careful of the raids of those devil cubs. Yan Chilling shouted. Everyone knew that it might be the most critical time. Boom! There was another terrifying shock, and the gray formation in the sky was suddenly blasted open, and the entire formation began to shake. The sun came in, and everyone looked up, but saw a man holding a golden sword and wearing a golden robe. His handsome face was clearly visible. The color of his hair and pupils were all golden, like a golden god of war, generally. An invincible smell boiled and rushed over him, revealing a terrifying smell. At this moment, in his eyes, the sun in the sky seemed to have lost its brilliance, and he was the only sun between heaven and earth. Bold devil, you are so bold. Quickly hand over my disciple of the One Yuan sect, and I will keep your whole body. The golden man spoke, but his voice was like thunder, and it resounded through the entire Qiandao lake in an instant. Some disciples of the Haodian demon race and demon worship cult with weak cultivation were instantly shaken to death by this terrifying sound wave. This cultivation was hundreds of times stronger than the previous Luo Yifan. It's really shameless. Are all the human beings of this kind now? A voice like a bell came from the depths of the formation. It just so happens that my clan's formation still lacks a powerful soul. While speaking, a huge ghost came out from the depths of the formation and flew into the air. This huge ghost was also full of demonic energy. The dazzling sunlight in the sky was instantly destroyed. It covered more than half of it, and then it turned into a dark cloud, which was on par with the golden man. There was a fierce red light in his eyes, as if an ancient demon god was resurrected. The battle between two peerless masters is about to start. Chapter 131 Qi Feifei. The strength of these two peerless masters is no longer comparable to Yifeng and other warriors in the innate realm. A peerless master's blood essence and soul is 1,000 times more useful than those mediocre talents. The huge shadow cracked the corners of his hideous mouth and smiled, looking very cruel. See clearly. It is a huge demon, at least 5 meters tall, covered with black scales and limbs, and has sharp claws that make people look terrified. Everyone recognized it immediately. This is one of the demons, the trolls. One of the characteristics is that they are extremely large in size, and these trolls are powerful, far from being the main force and cannon fodder. The big devil can compare. It is said that adult trolls can reach 4 meters, and have the strength of no less than true powerhouses. And this one is definitely more than 5 meters tall. It is a troll leader who is more difficult to deal with than ordinary trolls. I don't know how much. Heavenly demon transformation blood formation, you wicked beast, you actually sacrificed the whole city with blood. The golden figure said coldly, it seems that you are practicing something amazing, so you don't hide in silence. Get up, with such a big fanfare to attract the disciples of the One Yuan sect to die. Jia Jia. The troll leader Jia Jia said with a smile, You guessed right, but I didn't expect to attract a master like you, but this is just right. Save the trouble. The golden figure looked at the large formation with heavy shadows, but was not afraid at all, just like a golden god of war resurrected. He looked around with his eyes and found that the surrounding people did not know when they were arranged by those demons. However, he was not afraid at all. On the contrary, there was a trace of excitement and excitement. Suddenly, the golden figure laughed loudly and said, "You bastard, Chief Ethan has killed many monsters, but I haven't killed a troll yet, so I just brought it to sacrifice the sword." "What? He is Chief Ethan?" Yan Chilling said in surprise. Everyone was horrified, and the golden figure in the sky turned out to be Chief Ethan. In Yi Shiwen's mind, the deeds of Chief Ethan that he had heard before also popped up. This Chief Ethan is indeed worthy of the name Ethan. His life is indeed an extraordinary legend. In the Yuan dynasty, there are legends and myths. Since childhood, I have followed the master to practice martial arts, and my cultivation has soared at a rocket-like speed. Later, I broke through to the true way in a short period of time, defeating countless enemies. Now the specific step of cultivation, no one knows. Someone it is said that it is already the 8th level of the true way, and some people say that it is already the 9th level of the true way, and there are even many rumors that Chief Ethan is already a half-step legend. Legend is a state above the true way. That is the supreme cultivation level that only the first of each peak has, and Chief Ethan is already approaching this situation. In the future, he will definitely be a powerhouse in the legendary realm, one of the disciples. Compared with Chief Ethan, Luo Yifan is only at the first level or the second level of the true way. The two sides can't speak the same thing. Although they are in the same state of the true way, the gap between the real way is much bigger than that of the innate state. This is definitely a myth, a legend. And the troll leader obviously can't be underestimated. The two sides can be said to be evenly matched, so it is a world-shattering battle. Without any hesitation, Yi Shiwen said to the many disciples of Xianyu Pavilion, "Wait for them to fight. I'm afraid it is possible that the sky will collapse. We have to take the opportunity to rush out." Many disciples nodded solemnly and they thought the same. The troll leader took the lead, grabbed a giant trident from the void with his big hand, and stabbed it towards Chief Ethan. Seconds appeared in front of Chief Ethan's face. However, he saw that the golden long sword in Chief Ethan's hand instantly cut out a divine glow like the sun's rays and greeted him. Boom! The demonic energy and the sword energy collided fiercely. The space seemed to be like a piece of paper, and it swayed rapidly. The fluctuations caused the entire demonic formation to understand it crazy. But the battle between the two in the sky has just begun. The two peerless masters can be described as characters standing at the pinnacle of the true way. Every move and style are extremely simple, but in this simplicity, it contains the truth of the Tao. Under the attack of the two, the surrounding air was blasted. As the two fought faster and faster, they slowly burst into anger, and the entire Qiandao city was destroyed in just half a column of incense. Go most of the time. The battle between masters of this level is not something that can be seen at any time. The disciples of the One Yuan sect are fascinated by it. Although they are only watching their battles, when they come to Chi Feifei, these two at this level of people, every move contains the essence of martial arts. They just watched them display the essence of martial arts and magic. There is already a faint urge to improve the situation. And Yi Shiwen is also very fascinated, but compared with others, he is completely different. The spiritual stone in his space ring is burning frantically, pouring into that mysterious space, and that mysterious space it was the scene that Yi Shiwen saw, and the essence of it was poured into Yi Shiwen's mind. Yi Shiwen was almost fascinated. Just watching the battle between the two made him feel like he was about to break through. It was an epiphany. Suddenly, there was a sound of shouting and killing, and in the demon formation, endless demons rushed towards Yi Shiwen and the others. He probably thought that his big leader had decided on Chi Feihan, and felt that these people were useless, so he was going to kill Yi Shiwen and others. "Go ahead, everyone rush out," Yi Shiwen shouted, took the lead, with a long dragon tossing on his body, rushed into those demons, almost didn't want Yi Shiwen to do it. The long dragon waving its limbs and tail, took those weak demons out. The clan was settled, coupled with Yi Shiwen's long knife to open the way. Yi Feng and others followed closely, and they were unstoppable for a while, and they rushed out of the way. Kill! Yi Shiwen shouted loudly, slammed out a palm, and another dragon flew out, waving its strong limbs, creating a gap in this formation, and the disciples of Xianyu Pavilion jumped out one after another, while Yi Shiwen in the back of the hall also rushed out of the magic formation. Without Yi Shiwen's obstruction, the magic formation quickly recovered automatically, blocking the demons inside, and the demons inside screamed strangely. However, there were not many demons on the periphery of the battle array, and they were all destroyed by the aftermath of the battle between the two peerless masters in the sky. This has just come out, and the terrifying aftermath of the moment has been crushed, but Yi Shiwen has nothing to do. His physical body is very strong, and he has a very strong and very powerful martial art body protection like the hegemony art. Even casual weapons can't hurt him. But that was Yi Shiwen. If it were someone else, even a congenital expert would be lame. Fortunately, at a critical time, the eldest grandson Yuyan took out the magic flute and played it, and the pseudo-spiritual tool exerted its ability to block the terrifying aftermath. After everyone ran for hundreds of miles all the way, they finally stopped. Immediately, they were dressed in rough clothes, with happy expressions on their faces. Probably no one thought that not only would they be able to escape this time, but they also escaped with 0 casualties. Yes, although there is a relationship with Qi Feihan, the bigger relationship is Yi Shiwen. If it weren't for Yi Shiwen, they would have died a few days ago. What's more, those devil cubs just now were densely packed. If so, it would not be so easy for them to rush out. Therefore, the eyes looking at Yi Shiwen are full of gratitude, especially the disciples of Qingfang Mountain's One Yuan sect. Speaking of which, Yi Shiwen can say that he has saved them several times. Without Yi Shiwen, they would have died long ago. It's been cold. After this accident, although everyone suffered a shock, they agreed very tacitly with Yi Shiwen, the name of the elder of the leading feather pavilion, who was almost indifferent and did not appear on weekdays. Originally, although Yi Shiwen was also an elder, there were many people who were not very convinced, because Yi Shiwen hardly cared about the affairs of Xianyu Pavilion. Why would such a person stand in the position of an elder? Now, what's the use of showing up often? It's the most important thing to be able to show up at the most critical time, and to be able to help at the most critical time. After today's incident, if there is anyone in Xianyu Pavilion who is not convinced in the future, I am afraid that the first people who will jump out will be those who have been favored by Yi Shiwen. Let's go quickly, otherwise it will be bad for these demons to chase after them. Yi Shiwen said. Little brother, aren't you leaving with us? Yi Rushui asked strangely. Let's go first, I still have something to do. Yi Shiwen said. Everyone thought about it. Yes, Yi Shiwen's strength is high, and he was able to lead them all the way out from the heavy siege of the demons just now. As long as he doesn't run into the troll leader, it shouldn't be a big problem. Everyone has secrets, and since Yi Shiwen said there was something to do, they didn't ask any more. After everyone left, Yi Shiwen stomped and recited the formula of Lianqi Gong. Layers of demonic energy were entangled in his body, and then he put on the cloak of a demon-worship disciple that he grabbed. He is a real disciple of the demon-worshipping sect. Yi Shiwen didn't hesitate, and immediately turned around and followed the original path. Chapter 132 Tianyuan Mirror. Yi Shiwen's breath-holding skills have been perfected. He can imitate all kinds of scents and even his body posture. Of course, it's just imitation, not genuine, but in such a chaotic time, he can definitely deceive those demons perfectly. At the most chaotic time, two terrifying forces are colliding, and the aftermath is swept out one after another. This battle is absolutely earth-shattering. Yi Shiwen had just returned along the original road, and saw that the entire magic circle had begun to slowly move, and the endless bloody aura had begun to permeate. These were sacrificed in blood in Qiandao City and other places that had been slaughtered before. Human blood. It makes me sick to smell the smell. Yi Shiwen's heart moved. He must not be allowed to succeed, otherwise there will be a catastrophe. Yi Shiwen went straight into the magic circle, because he had the relationship with the magic circle, so he was not repelled by the magic circle, and easily entered the magic circle. Cloaked in a cloak, Yi Shiwen looked just like an ordinary demon worshipper disciple, but no one could see through his real body. Yi Shiwen went all the way into the depths of the magic circle. The depths of the magic circle led to an underground cave. Just as Yi Shiwen was about to enter, he was stopped by several big demons guarding the entrance of the cave. "Humble human beings, you have crossed the line. This is not a place where you humans can set foot," said a big demon. Yi Shiwen muttered secretly, "It seems that among the demons, the human beings in Shutang should not have a high status, at least the pawns at the bottom are like this." However, his hands were not slow at all, and he cut out a splendid sword light with one knife. The remaining 3 great demons hadn't reacted yet. How could this happen? Yi Shiwen slashed out 3 sword shadows in a flash, and slashed them down. "I'm afraid I'm going to sacrifice the Panlong Palm, but there will be a lot of movement at that time." Yi Shiwen no longer pretended to be a disciple of the demon cult, but turned himself into a great demon with luck. Although it was only similar in appearance, it was enough to deceive those demons with the addition of the monstrous demonic energy. Yi Shiwen went all the way down the cave, but saw that there were more and more big demons under the cave, and more aftermath of the fight between the troll leader and Chi Feihan came from the ground above his head. After pretending to be a big demon, Yi Shiwen went all the way unimpeded. Yi Shiwen walked all the way, and soon saw a huge blood pool with endless blood pouring into this blood pool from nowhere. In the blood pool, the endless blood was boiling, and the bloody aura rushed towards his face. Yi Shiwen could even hear the grievances of the resentful spirits in the blood, and the resentment was soaring to the sky. In general, even warriors who practice the evil way will eliminate these grievances and attack themselves, but these demons don't care so much that they have to increase this kind of grievances to increase the ability of blood sacrifice. Damn, these beasts. Rao Yi Shiwen has been able to say that he is used to seeing life and death since this time, but he still has to be angry when he sees this kind of scene. I have a deep understanding of the hatred of the demons. It is not a battle between warriors. If you can keep your hands and adjust, this is the battle between the 2 races. Either you die, or I live. If all the demons are not killed, then human beings will be enslaved or become blood eaters, and there is no third way to go, especially when the demon world wants to invade the real martial world all the time. You live and die, live and die. At this time, the magic formation seemed to have reached the most critical time. Not only was the blood pool boiling, but there were even waves of blood, and the scene made people shudder. Suddenly, there was a violent fluctuation in the blood pool, and the surrounding demons saw this scene, and hurriedly left far away and did not dare to approach. "Jia Jia, this uncle is back after all." With such arrogant words, it was accompanied by a childish voice, a blood-colored mirror tossed out from the blood. All of them were small and dark, and their heads were dark. It has 2 horns on it, a pair of wings flapping behind it, and a tail is still dancing constantly behind it. Looking at it, it is very cute. The blood-colored mirror immediately began to emit bursts of light, rising into the sky, illuminating the entire cave as if it were a blood-colored world. The surrounding demons began to worship the ground in awe and worship, as if the people in front of them were gods. Yi Shiwen's eyes flickered immediately. This scourge must not let him be born. Now is the time when it was just born and at its weakest. Yi Shiwen stepped on his feet, his figure turned into a streamer, and he rushed to the center of the blood pool, and a dragon was entrenched on Yi Shiwen's body. The long knife shot out in an instant, drawing bright rays of light, and immediately slashed towards the little devil. PFF'd. The little devil was cut in half in an instant. But then, the 2 corpses were reborn again in the sky above the blood pond, and immediately pointed at Yi Shiwen and shouted, "You lowly big devil, you dare to attack the deity, are you trying to rebel?" Speaking of that, the blood-colored mirror suddenly burst into light, and a blood-colored light shone on Yi Shiwen's body. The dragon on Yi Shiwen's body suddenly shook violently and roared, and the dragon energy and the blood energy began to melt into each other. How is that possible? Seeing what he saw, the little devil was stunned, then suddenly reacted and shouted, "You are not a demon." Immediately, a wave of blood shot towards Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen's toes were a little above the blood wave, and he immediately rushed towards the little devil. "Catch him!" The little demon shouted loudly, and immediately the endless demons around rushed towards Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen ignored it and grabbed it indirectly towards the little demon in front of him. Yi Shiwen's palm instantly turned into a dragon's claws, grabbed the little devil and held it firmly in his hand, unable to escape. The blood-colored mirror suddenly shot out a terrifying blood light, which shot towards Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen's other hand also turned into a dragon's claw, and the dragon's palm was shot in an instant, blasting away the blood, and grabbing the blood-colored mirror into his hand. The blood-colored mirror was full of blood-colored light. The dragon energy in Yi Shiwen's hand was melted away by this light in an instant. Yi Shiwen's flesh and blood began to corrode, and it became blurred in an instant. Immediately, a piercing pain rushed into Yi Shiwen's mind. The mysterious space in Yi Shiwen's mind suddenly sent out bursts of divine light that followed Yi Shiwen's arm towards the blood-colored mirror. Boom! The five-colored divine light actually suppressed the blood-colored mirror. Exclamation mark! A cool smell circulated in Yi Shiwen's body, which immediately made Yi Shiwen very comfortable. You humble human, don't let me go, or I want you to look good. The little devil shouted. Shut up, or I'll strangle you. Yi Shiwen shouted coldly. If he wasn't afraid of strangling him and he was reborn from elsewhere in the blood pool, he would have slapped the little devil to death earlier. Yi Shiwen's bloody blood flowed to the mirror surface of the blood-colored mirror. Under the leadership of the colorful light, he actually merged into the blood-colored mirror. Yi Shiwen felt vaguely connected with the mirror. A feeling of oneness. No, it's impossible. How is it possible? How could Tianyuan mirror recognize you as the master? The little devil suddenly changed his face and said tremblingly. The demons who rushed over were about to kill Yi Shiwen. At this time, there was a sudden bang, and the ground above his head shattered. A huge figure smashed the ground to pieces. Yi Shiwen took a look. Turned out to be the troll leader. At this time, the troll leader already had several bloody wounds on his body. There was a big hole in his right chest, and the scales and armor on his body were scattered in large areas, and the flesh and blood inside could be seen. And in the sky above the huge hole, Chi Feifei was floating in the sky coldly, with golden rays of light all over his body. From a distance, he was simply a golden god, sitting on the high throne of the sky, looking down at the ants on the ground. Any demonic energy close to him will be completely swallowed up by the golden true essence, which is extremely terrifying. The competition between the two peerless masters has been divided. The devil, just capture it. Chi Fanfan said coldly. Chi Feifan slashed down a dazzling sun-like sword energy with one sword, and it fell down instantly. When the blood chi resentment in the underground cave encountered the sword energy, it was instantly evaporated. The troll leader instantly shot his trident and slammed into it. Boom! Two terrifying energies spread out in an instant, and the demons in the entire cave were instantly annihilated, and the stronger ones were also seriously injured by the blast. Just when the energy swept over Yi Shiwen's body, the blood-colored mirror in Yi Shiwen's hand shone with blood, protecting Yi Shiwen in it, and survived the attack of this energy. Yi Shiwen no longer hesitated, and hurriedly flew all the way, running towards the road leading to the outside of the cave. Fortunately, the two supreme powerhouses were fighting, and they didn't notice Yi Shiwen's escape, so they escaped from the underground cave smoothly. At this time, the demons were almost dead. Yi Shiwen escaped smoothly and ran all the way out. After hundreds of miles, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 133 Return to One Yuanzong. After running for hundreds of miles, the aftermath of the fight gradually disappeared. Immediately, he breathed a sigh of relief and couldn't help but murmured, "This true master is really scary." Humble human beings, do you think they are really in the realm of the real world? That stupid big man has reached the peak of the 9th level, and that human being is already a half-step legend, otherwise they can make such a big move what? The little devil in Yi Shiwen's hand suddenly said sneeringly. Yi Shiwen just remembered that he was still holding a little devil in his hand. After getting out of the trap, Yi Shiwen asked leisurely, "What kind of devil are you?" Yi Shiwen held him firmly in his hand, and he was not afraid of his resistance. Yi Shiwen also noticed just now that this little devil is difficult to kill, but in the same way, he has almost no power, or in other words, his power comes from that terrifying blood-colored mirror. But the blood-colored mirror could not be completely controlled by him now. Yi Shiwen could feel that he seemed to be somewhat connected to the mirror. Yi Shiwen couldn't figure out why. The bridges like recognizing the master by dripping blood are pure nonsense. Only the magical weapons above the spiritual weapon can recognize the master, but the so-called master recognition usually has to be the master himself. Only when the primordial spirit is condensed into it and practiced day and night is it possible to reach the stage of initial psychic. Yi Shiwen thought about it carefully, except that the mysterious space once protected the master when he was attacked by the blood-colored mirror. There was nothing special about it. Then all of this must be related to the mysterious space in the mind. Although it is a little confusing, what is certain is that as long as this blood-colored mirror is manipulated, this little devil has no power to fight back. Devil, don't confuse this uncle with that kind of inferior creature. The little demon said disdainfully. Then what are you? Yi Shiwen asked. Not a devil, what could it be? Yi Shiwen's mind flashed the descriptions of the demons who had invaded the Junwu world so far, but he really couldn't see it. No matter how he looked at it, it was still that kind of little devil. This uncle is an artifact spirit. Do you understand? What is an artifact spirit? The little devil said. Artifact spirit, Yi Shiwen exclaimed in shock. Artifact spirit, of course, he knew what it was. The so-called spirit artifact has spirit. This spirit refers to artifact spirit, but the so-called spirit is actually just some spirituality. It seems that saying that a certain dog is spiritual is better than being smarter, but it's just that. But there are also some magic tools. After some chance and coincidence, it is also possible to produce spiritual intelligence, not spirituality. This is the so-called artifact spirit, but it is very good to have the IQ level of a human being 4 or 5 years old. The IQ level of this little devil is absolutely taller than the average person. It is absolutely rare. If it wasn't for Tianyuanjing's sudden and inexplicable recognition of the master, you would think you, a humble human, would still be alive and talking here. The little devil looked at Yi Shiwen with contempt. He doesn't look down on humans at all. You are in my hands now, and I have 1,000 ways to torture you. Yi Shiwen sneered. The little devil artifact obviously still didn't understand the situation. Now he is the owner of the Tianyuan mirror, and it is just an artifact. If he wants to clean it up, Yi Shiwen has a way. The little devil didn't know what cruel torturing method he thought of, when his small body shook, and a trace of fear appeared on his face. What do you think the Tianyuan mirror is? It is the magic weapon of the great devil of our devil world. Does the devil understand? The great devil king, the ruler of the heavens and the world. The little devil said loudly. But you're still in my hands now. Yi Shiwen sneered, dismissing what he said about the devil. You lowly human. The little devil was so angry at Yi Shiwen's attitude that the 3 corpses were furious. Shut up, I'll kill you if you bother me. Yi Shiwen felt annoyed as soon as he heard what he said about a humble human being. The existence of artifact spirits largely lies in the owner's tolerance limit. With the cooperation of the spirit, the ability that the magic tool can exert will be greatly improved, but if the tool spirit has a different heart with yourself, it is better to erase it and let yourself master the magic tool 100%. Ordinary people, if they get a magic tool that already has a spirit, usually will indirectly erase the original spirit, or they will not need the spirit, or they will cultivate a new one that is in line with their own minds. The little devil immediately shut up, and at the same time cursed inwardly. How could he suddenly recognize the Lord for no reason, and recognize a humble human being? But Yi Shiwen didn't care what the little devil was thinking. He called Shan with a clear whistle, jumped onto Shani's back, didn't stop at all, and went straight to the direction of the One Yuan sect. This time, it can be said that he has gained a lot of money, especially this Tianyuan mirror, although he still can't figure out the specific situation, but he has time and can slowly figure it out. And now is the time to go back and participate in the competition for seed disciples. Although there are demons who worship demons all around, but for several major forces such as Yuanzong, they are nothing, but they are worshipping demons again. It's just that the disciples are in trouble, and it's not that they haven't encountered them before. Up to now, several major sects have not really contributed. Now it's just mobilizing a part of the power. It seems that the hundreds of true disciples who represent the true background of the One Yuan sect are only more than 100 people. For the One Yuan sect, all kinds of things are still going on in an orderly manner, and this is the foundation and confidence of the 1,000-year-old sect. Yi Shiwen will never give up when the seed disciple competes for the competition. After becoming a seed disciple, his status will naturally be different, and he can even be comparable to some core disciples. What kind of seed disciple competition of what sect are you going to participate in? You are the master of the great Tianyuan mirror now, how can you do such a boring thing? Conquer the world. As long as you do as I say, you will be the next great devil, and all the worlds will tremble under your devil's power. It seems that he has already accepted his fate, that Yi Shiwen is the master, and began to try to transform Yi Shiwen and let Yi Shiwen revise the magic method. To shut up. In the midst of the noise, Yi Shiwen flew all the way on the crane. After a day and a night of flying, he finally returned to the One Yuan sect. At this time, among the vast and boundless mountains of the One Yuan sect, the floating peaks came out from the middle of the One Yuan sect. Now, floating in the mountains around Yi Yuan sect, there are some true disciples living on these peaks, and only true disciples can sit on such floating peaks. Because even with the wealth of the One Yuan sect, it would be very laborious to manufacture hundreds of these floating peaks. Not only are these floating peaks very complete in various formations, the most important thing is that these floating peaks are usually home to various true disciples. But once a foreign enemy invades, it will be transformed into a very terrifying war fortress. But these are all rumors, and Yi Shiwen has never seen what these floating peaks look like when they become war fortresses. It is an eventful time now. Although in the eyes of the One Yuan sect, worshipping the demon cult seems to be just a little trouble, but who knows if there will be any disciples of the demon worship cult who are not long-sighted, so it was originally only in the many mountains of the One Yuan sect. In the deepest part, Fu Feng, who only belonged to the true disciples, was placed on the outer guard. Yi Shiwen returned to Tongtian Peak unimpeded all the way. He just returned to Tongtian Peak and found that Yi Feng and others were all there at this time. "Little brother, it's great that you're fine." Yi Feng showed a smile on his face when he saw that Yi Shiwen was fine. The others were also very happy. After all, this time, they were all rescued by Yi Shiwen. Although they came back first, they were constantly worried about Yi Shiwen's safety. Now that Yi Shiwen was safe and sound, he felt relieved immediately. "By the way, Brother Yi, did Brother Qi kill that troll?" Zhang Yang asked at this time. What everyone cares most, apart from Yi Shiwen's comfort, is whether Qi Fifan can kill that troll. "I don't know, but when I left, Senior Brother Qi already had the upper hand, and that troll should not be Senior Brother Qi's opponent." Yi Shiwen said, "We will find a chance to go to Senior Brother Qi Dogwangfeng to thank him." It's gone. The floating peak where Qi Fifan lives is also well known among the true disciples. It is known as the Great Bright Peak. It is brightly lit day and night, just like a legendary paradise. Although it was said that for Qi Fifan, coming to rescue them might be a simple effort, but they had to go to the door to thank them in person. As for whether the other party would see him and others, that was another matter. Well, it really should be like this. It's not right for us to leave early. It's time to thank you at the door. Yi Feng said. By the way, little brother, this competition for seed disciples will start tomorrow. If you want to sign up, you must go now. Yi Rushui asked. At this time, only Yi Rushui will probably. I am concerned about Yi Shiwen's participation in the seed disciple competition, and hope that Yi Shiwen will be in the limelight. Chapter 134. The competition begins. The night passed quickly, and Yi Shiwen, who caught up with the registration at the last hour, stayed in his small yard all night, constantly comprehending the results of this viewing. The battle between two masters of the pinnacle of true Taoism is not something that can be seen at any time. Yi Shiwen is now at the peak of the 4th level of the innate, and he doesn't know when he will be able to reach the true way, but no matter what, he has a very obvious goal. In order to improve his combat effectiveness as much as possible before the seed disciple competition, Yi Shiwen frantically burned the spirit stones, almost 10, the burning speed of 10 middle-grade spirit stones, and frantically analyzed the various aspects of the battle between the two peerless masters that day. Information. The night passed in a blink of an eye, but in this night, Yi Shiwen, who had burned 5,000 pieces of mid-grade spirit stones, smelled more and more stable and powerful. Compared with ordinary warriors at the peak of the 6th level of innate, his true essence was even stronger. It is more than 10 times thicker, and the physical body is even more difficult to hurt. Unprecedentedly powerful, Yi Shiwen is confident enough to sweep all the warriors at the peak of the 6th level of congenital. Even a part of the warriors of the 7th level of congenital can compete, even defeat and kill. It is impossible for everyone to become so powerful overnight, and only Yi Shiwen can, because he has the assistance of the mysterious space, and this time there is the assistance of the little devil Yi Mo. The name Yi Mo was given to the little devil by Yi Shiwen. Don't look at this little devil's arrogance, but he never had a name. His former master, the great devil he called him, actually regarded him as a slave. Look, I didn't even think about giving him a name. So Yi Shiwen gave him a name. Although he didn't say it, Yi Shiwen knew from the flash of emotion in his eyes that the nature of this artifact was not too bad, so Yi Shiwen also went out and wanted to destroy him. Recondensed the idea of a tool spirit. Since Yi Shiwen helped him choose a name, Yi Mo was obviously more active than before, and he stopped shouting about lowly humans all day long. Although Yi Mo is small and cute, he is indeed an old monster who has experienced a long time. Although he knows all the techniques of the magic way, according to him, when he reaches the level of a great devil, he will follow his words. The monarchs of the heavens and the world have long passed the time to stick to one kind of martial arts, and all kinds of martial arts can be at your fingertips. Although he was only an artifact, he had never eaten pork and had seen a pig run before, which brought Yi Shiwen a lot of new concepts in martial arts, and made Yi Shiwen's horizons broaden in just one night. This made Yi Shiwen's last thought to obliterate him completely disappeared. It's almost autumn. However, in the Yuan dynasty, because of the existence of many formations, the seasons are not affected, and it still feels like spring in all seasons. Yi Shiwen walked into the yard from his room, and there was a burst of bells in the distance from Wangyu Peak. This time, the competition for seed disciples was held in Wangyu Peak. Generally speaking, where the previous championship was, the next one will be held. The venue has not changed for 10 years, which shows the strength of Wangyufeng. The last time Tongtian Peak held a seed disciple competition, it had to be traced back more than 30 years ago. In other words, Tongtian Peak has not won the championship of the seed disciple competition for many years. Even the last time it squeezed into the top 10 was a few years ago, and after that disciple was promoted to the core disciple, no one made the top 10. However, the background of Tongtian Peak is still not to be underestimated, and there are several seed disciples who have entered the top 100. With the sound of the bell, many disciples from the inner sect and the outer sect rushed to Wangyu Peak. Although there was basically no possibility of competition for them, after all, it was among the top masters among the inner sect disciples. There are not many opportunities to see them on weekdays. It is a very rare opportunity to see enough of them at one time this time. In this case, Yi Shiwen and the people from Xianyu Pavilion went to Wangyufeng to meet Yi Feng and others. Although it had nothing to do with them this time, Yi Shiwen participated in the competition for seed disciples. The so-called Xianyu Pavilion is almost a representative figure to the outside world. When many people think of Xianyu Pavilion, the first thing that comes to mind is definitely Yi Shiwen, a newly emerging master, especially Yi Shiwen who is called a figure comparable to a seed disciple. How could the race not come? I heard that in this competition for seed disciples, because of the large-scale comeback of the demon cult, the sect has prepared a very generous reward. There are many pseudo-spirits with great power, as well as some medicinal pill rewards. Tisk tisk, last year was far inferior to this year. Of course, this year's situation is special. This year, because of the re-emergence of the demon cult, I heard that the 4 major sects and the royal family will jointly hold a giant memory to discuss how to join forces with the demon cult. Among them, there will also be a competition between the disciples, including inner disciples, core disciples, and true disciples. This time, the inner sect's seed disciples, asterisk is the one who selected the disciples for this matter. The top 100 seed disciples will be taken to participate in the seminar. It's no wonder that the sect is so generous this time not only to discuss with them how to worship the demon sect, but also to show the powerful strength of my Yuan sect, so I can't make people look down on it, but it's a pity that the seed disciple competition among the core disciples only happens once every 2 years, and this time it just happened not to be their turn, otherwise we will definitely see an excellent battle. I'm afraid there won't be many names to change the list this time. After all, they are all seed disciples who have been cultivated by a lot of resources from the sect. It's hard to say. There are also very powerful newcomers this time. For example, Yi Shiwen, I heard that he is also very strong. I've heard of his name. He seems to have defeated Mohan, but at that time, Mohan was only at the peak of the 5th layer and 8. Yi Shiwen may not be able to compare with the real seed disciple. On the contrary, Mohan heard that he has stepped into the innate fifth stage of perfection. Only 10 days ago, relying on the terrifying situation of the unity of the gun and the man, he defeated a seed disciple, although he was only ranked 96th. This time the seed disciple competition is interesting. Many disciples began to discuss. Yi Shiwen stood in the crowd, listening to these comments, without the slightest fluctuation. Yi Shiwen, it's just a mere competition for inner seed disciples. Those people will definitely not be your opponents. Yi Mo's voice came from Yi Shiwen's mind, and Yi Mo's voice was full of disdain. It seems that these inner disciples don't look down on them at all. Now Yi Mo is hiding in the Tianyuan mirror in Yi Shiwen's body. He was originally the item spirit of the Tianyuan mirror. It is too easy to hide in. With the flow of people, Yi Shiwen and other Tianyu Pavilion disciples entered the square of Wangyu Peak. Although Yi Shiwen was quite famous, these outer disciples, inner disciples, and named disciples added up to more than 100,000 people. Those who didn't know Yi Shiwen accounted for the vast majority. Yi Shiwen and the others entered the square without a hitch and found a place to do it. At this time, there were already many arenas standing on the square, just for the disciples who were competing for the seated disciples. Time used. On a cliff on the edge of the square, there are many names carved, almost densely layered. From a distance, Zhou Du, those are the top 10 seed disciples over the years. Qualified to be engraved on it, to be remembered by people. Seeing such a mighty event that hundreds of thousands of people participated in, everyone in the Qianyu Pavilion was fascinated and extremely excited. This was also the first time that the disciples of the Qianyu Pavilion participated in a large-scale event of the One Yuan sect, so they couldn't help being excited. On the high platform in the distance, there are elders sitting one by one and many true disciples, but there is a cloudy atmosphere nearby, which makes it difficult to see. These people all want to see if there are any good seedlings among the inner disciples. Some people want to win over some members, and some people want to see if there is any talent that can be recruited into the sect. After almost everyone had arrived, on the high platform, a tall elder stood up, flew in midair, glanced at all the disciples, and said, "The annual inner door the seed disciple competition is about to begin." The reason why Zongman decided this competition is to hope that everyone can do their best to show their strongest state. Zongman is also preparing to give out very generous rewards. Excellent. My sect will not be stingy with rewards, and if you have enough opportunities, you will have the opportunity to worship the elders of the true way and leap into the Dragon Gate. Although the words were very short and straightforward, all the disciples heard a burst of excitement. As long as they showed enough strength, they could gain the capital to climb up. This is one of the fairest and cruelest living laws. As long as you have enough strength, the sect will treat you differently and spend a lot of resources to cultivate you. As long as you have enough talent, you can get ahead, but this is also an extremely cruel rule. And people without strength can only be surpassed constantly. The jungle law of natural selection is vividly reflected here. Ring number 130. Yi Shiwen, Fang Su. After all, the core disciple guarding the ring read Yi Shiwen's name. Chapter 135. 2 rounds in a row. Ring number 130. Yi Shiwen, Fang Su. Finally, the core disciple guarding the ring read Yi Shiwen's name. Yi Shiwen heard that his name was called and immediately walked up. Many disciples who didn't know Yi Shiwen turned their attention to Yi Shiwen. Although Yi Shiwen was only comparable to a seed disciple, there were more than 100,000 registered disciples in the inner and outer sects. Among them, it is already the top. In fact, there are only 200 or 300 people. Compared with hundreds of thousands of people, it is pitiful. Besides Yi Shiwen, that Fang Su also seemed to be a famous opponent. I didn't expect to see this battle between Yi Shiwen and Fang Su in the first game. Yi Shiwen has become famous recently, but Fang Su is also a famous master of the innate perfection realm. Yes, I didn't expect to encounter such a quasi-seed level battle in the first battle. Yes, I thought that these masters would definitely be staggered. Staggering, if it is staggered, it will be meaningless. If it is only staggered, based on strength alone, I think how many people will participate in this seed disciple competition every year, just because it is full of uncertainty, some lucky people can break into the front. Hundreds, like that Mohan, Otherwise, those disciples at the peak of the 5th level innate who know that their strength is not enough will not participate. Why go up and shame others as a joke? On the high platform, among the elders' seats, many elders looked at Yi Shiwen, among them Lin Zontian, who had just been promoted to a true disciple. Looking at Yi Shiwen, he was very relieved, and he did not expect that Yi Shiwen would be able to challenge the seed disciples after joining the general sect. Yi Shiwen also felt that a lot of eyes were looking at him, and he suddenly felt a little drum in his heart. There was nothing else. He was afraid that they would discover the existence of Tianyuan mirror and Yi Mo in his body. Although the One Yuan sect does not pay much attention to the distinction between righteousness and evil, there are many disciples who practice the magic and evil ways, but they are all improved. There are also many people who use magic tools and evil ways. It's all good, because the point of view of Yi Yuanzong is that there is no righteousness and evil in these spiritual tools and exercises, and only human beings have the distinction between righteousness and evilness. However, they are not sure what their attitude towards the Tianyuan mirror will be. Although Yi Shiwen doesn't care about the fact that the Tianyuan mirror in Yi Mo's mouth is a very powerful magic weapon, he is also afraid that something will happen. Yi Mo, are you sure there's nothing wrong? Yi Shiwen asked. Those elders are all masters of the true way. If they really want to attack him, he can't fight back. Do not worry, there is no way for these ants to discover my existence, Yi Mo said very proudly. Now Yi Mo is still very contemptuous of human beings. Although Yi Shiwen has to repair every time he shows such signs, the words are already deep in his bones, and it is difficult to change. It is probably that his attitude towards Yi Shiwen is better. However, he always wanted to bring Yi Shiwen to the road of magic, and he always wanted to cultivate Yi Shiwen into the next generation of peerless monarchs. However, Yi Shiwen had already ignored these words, and he had no interest at all in being a devil. Yi Shiwen came to the stage, and the young man in the moon-colored robe stood opposite him, looked at Yi Shiwen arrogantly, and said, "Listen to that particularly arrogant Yi Shiwen. He seems to have defeated Mohan, but Mohan is only a congenital 5. It's just a peak, it's useless to defeat him, it's not my opponent, let's admit defeat as soon as possible." He was full of confidence in his ability to persuade Yi Shiwen to go down, but unexpectedly saw Yi Shiwen's faint smile, and he was suddenly a little annoyed, and his face was a little overwhelmed, and he said angrily, "What are you laughing at? I laugh too much, do I think I can win Mohan? It's just that he surpasses him in strength. When I meet him this time, I can't even make 10 moves." Yi Shiwen said with a sneer, "The realm of the unity of the gun and the man. It is an extremely powerful realm, and under the same strength, it is simply difficult to resist. Since Mohan is already in the state of congenital perfection, as long as he doesn't have bad luck in this competition, he should be able to go far. Even if he used to be an enemy, Yi Shiwen would not belittle Mohan's ability. But I won't have the chance to meet him again this time," Yi Shiwen said lightly. "Bastard." Fang Su was instantly furious. He was full of self-confidence, but it was a shame and humiliation for Yi Shiwen to do this. Fang Su grabbed the air with his palm, and directly grabbed a green long sword. This long sword was made of a kind of supreme cold jade. From a distance, one could feel the chilling air. The water vapor collided and made a sizzling sound. It was like a flash of green lightning. It took one step and stabbed Yi Shiwen in front of the next second. Although Fang Su has a strong tone, his strength is indeed there. The strength of innate perfection is real, and this time he is also full of confidence to compete for the ranking of seed disciples for 100 seats. Brush. Yi Shiwen's reaction was not slow at all, and the long knife shot instantly, like a black lightning, and greeted it in an instant. Boom. A huge loud noise was heard, and a lot of water vapor in the air was frozen in the air wave. The ice chips shot out in an instant, and many disciples who were watching immediately protected their bodies with infuriating energy, and the ice chips hit an acquired martial artist and could break him. After cutting off the opponent's offensive, Yi Shiwen didn't stop at all. The real energy in his body kept bursting, and a terrifying sword light was completely cut out, sweeping towards Fang Su like a wind and a cloud. Fang Su blocked with a cold jade sword, but how could he block Yi Shiwen's sword mixed with true essence just now? Bang! Fang Su was instantly slashed by the long knife, and a mouthful of blood spurted out, creating a sad look in the air. Yi Shiwen just used the innate Junshi mixed with a trace of Junyuan to make him completely unable to fight back. This is still under the circumstance that Yi Shiwen has concealed his true strength. He does not want others to see that he has completely transformed his true essence, because among these seed disciples, there are also real masters, and it is not good to reveal his strength too early. However, this is the case. The power of Yi Shiwen's 200 flying dragons is still a terrifying power, and with a single knife, Fang Supi's vomited blood flew out. Yi Shiwen actually won, and he won so easily. How is it possible that Fang Su couldn't even stop him? How is it possible? Yi Shiwen can't be so powerful. The cold jade sword is a pseudo-spiritual weapon, how can it be unstoppable? It seems that we all look at Yi Shiwen's strength too much. We only saw that Yi Shiwen defeated Mohan, and we thought that Mohan, who was at the peak of the fifth innate, was too weak, but we didn't expect that Yi Shiwen was actually too strong. After all, he realized the unity of gunmen and men, but he still lost in his hands. His strength is simply unfathomable. This strength is more than comparable to the seed disciples. Even among the seed disciples, I am afraid that only the middle-ranked and above can play against him. And the disciples of Qianyu Pavilion cheered without exception. Yi Shiwen represents their Qianyu Pavilion and represents the newcomers of this session. Yi Shiwen won the first game so easily, which made them very happy. When Yi Shiwen came down, he was immediately surrounded by the disciples of Qianyu Pavilion. Everyone sent their congratulations. Although it was only a game, he managed to solve a super expert who was in the innate perfection realm so easily. As you can imagine, Yi Shiwen you can go further after that. And the old disciples around looked at Yi Shiwen with a little more awe. This newcomer is too perverted. He has only been in the main sect for less than half a year, and he will be able to participate in the competition for seed disciples. Easily solved a super expert of the innate perfection realm. Although all the new disciples this year are very powerful, this is also a bit outrageous, which makes those who have been in the main sect for more than 10 years and have no courage to sign up. What a shame. Yi Shiwen's face was sinking like water. No matter what those people were thinking, he quietly waited for the next battle. However, Yi Shiwen didn't have to wait for a long time. Soon, the first matches of the other arenas ended one after another. After a little rest, the second battle is about to begin. Although, in this case, it is unfair to those who fight more slowly, but this is nothing to worry about. This is originally a continuous battle. If the strength is strong enough, it will be it's fair to be able to finish early like Yi Shiwen and lose to the enemy early. If everyone rests for a long time, it will be unfair to the strong ones. Soon it was Yi Shiwen's turn for the second game. The second game was a disciple who looked at 25 or 6 years old and saw that his opponent was actually Yi Shiwen. He smiled wryly, even though Yi Shiwen's battle was over. Early, he didn't see it, but just by listening to those people, he knew that he was not Yi Shiwen's opponent. A super expert in the innate perfection realm was slashed even if Yi Shiwen couldn't stop it with a knife, let alone a disciple of the innate 5th level peak. He didn't even want to give it a shot. He just cupped his hands and said, "Junior brother Yi, I'm not strong enough, so I'm willing to admit defeat." Yi Shiwen, win. Chapter 136 Dragon and Tiger Fight. Yi Shiwen won the second round just after the opponent conceded defeat, with little effort. Yi Shiwen, I didn't expect you to make it to the third round, but you're going to die soon, enjoy your last life. Yi Shiwen just walked off the stage when a sneer came from the side. Yi Shiwen turned his head and saw that it was the so-called little marquis who was seriously injured by him before. Yi Shiwen looked, this little marquis, not only all the injuries he suffered before, but also brave and diligent to the point that he has reached the peak of the 6th level of congenital innate. This is not just as simple as raising a level, but has crossed a watershed, and the strength has undergone earth-shaking changes. But when Yi Shiwen saw that little marquis before, there was no sign that this little marquis would cross this watershed at all. Yi Shiwen originally estimated that this little marquis would take at least a few years, maybe even 10 years. It takes years to cross this watershed. Although 10 years is a long time, you must know that innate masters have a lifespan of 200 years, so this 10 years is not too long. Because the 5th and 6th layers of the innate are the biggest hurdles in the innate realm, at least half of the innate warriors have no way to cross this hurdle. 10 years is not a long time unless it is the top genius and the sect has a lot of resources. But now it seems that in the past few months, that little prince has not only completely recovered from the injury, but also bravely and diligently reached the peak of the 6th level innate. It is simply unimaginable that such a speed is not slow at all even compared to Yi Shiwen. That little Marquise's eyes were full of murderous intentions, because he hated Yi Shiwen. Probably no one had beaten him like that before. If he can worship the One Yuan sect, it means that he is not the direct son of the family, and there is no one in his arrogance. They all got along well, but unfortunately I lost sight of Yi Shiwen. I didn't expect that this newcomer who had just joined the main sect would be so powerful. Even an old disciple with deep experience was beaten like this, and his dignity was trampled on. Feet. Yi Shiwen could feel his murderous aura, and he could even guess what he was thinking. He just wanted to kill him on the ring. The One Yuan sect has a more severe punishment for the disabled killers, but if it is just an injury, then it almost means that there is no punishment, because there are almost no injuries in a large sect like the One Yuan sect that cannot be cured. Therefore, the disciples of the One Yuan sect have little scruples when they fight on weekdays. However, very few people would actually kill their opponents, and Yi Shiwen only maimed the little Marquis but didn't kill him last time because of this consideration. There are only two exceptions, one is the life and death arena, and the other is such an open event with almost no restrictions. After all, competitions like the Seed Disciple competition are almost always the top disciples. A negligence may lead to failure, or even serious injury, unless the strength is far behind. Who would dare to keep their hands and let go of water at this time? If you hold such an idea, I will make you regret it. Yi Shiwen looked at the little Marquis coldly. Ha 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 ha. The little Marquis laughed wildly for a while, before he stopped laughing. You offended the person you can't offend. He is the one who gave me strength. I will kill you on the ring today. Quote. Is it Luo Yifan? Yi Shiwen asked. Humph. The little Marquis snorted coldly and didn't answer. But Yi Shiwen already got the answer he wanted. Sure enough, it was Luo Yifan. The thief's heart was immortal. At that time, in front of everyone, there was no evidence and he didn't directly shoot. After returning, most of them still felt that there was a mistake and did not let go, but fortunately, he didn't shoot directly, otherwise it would be really troublesome. The little Marquis didn't stay for a long time, and turned to leave. Seeing the back of the little Marquis leaving, Yi Shiwen sneered in his heart. He didn't move because of his words. Seriously, at this time, I am afraid that I will be really disturbed, but now, Yi Shiwen, relax, soon, Yi Shiwen's third round will come soon, and this time the opponent is already a Seed Disciple, but Yi Shiwen is not surprised. After all, it is already the third round. Even if he does not meet the Seed Disciple, you will meet disciples who are comparable to Seed Disciples. Those who can get to this round, even if they have some luck, how can their strength be so poor? For Yi Shiwen, everyone is the same. After passing the first 3 rounds, he entered the top 100 and ranked among the Seed Disciples. Zhang Kai is not only a Seed Disciple, but even the 19th among the Seed Disciples. The breath on his body is extremely strong, and he is only half a step away from entering the 6th level of the innate, and this time will not be long. Maybe within a few months. Zhang Kai looked at Yi Shiwen and said, Yi Shiwen, you are very strong, but this time you will definitely lose, and I must rush to the top 20. Zhang Kai looked solemn. Yi Shiwen's strength, of course, needless to say, no one dares to doubt what Yi Shiwen is now. Many people are guessing that Yi Shiwen is also in the congenital small perfect state. However, he is bound to win the top 20. This time, he can get a medicinal pill called Shengsheng Hehe pill. Obtaining this medicinal pill can increase the success rate of hitting the innate 6th layer by more than 30%. This medicinal pill is very rare, because only the masters above the true way can refine, but this kind of medicine pill only increases a certain success rate. The refining is cumbersome, and the effect is not as big as imagined, only increases between the 5th and 6th layers of innate. There is a certain success rate, so the alchemy masters among the true disciples are rarely able to refine this kind of medicine pill. On the contrary, the number of this medicine pill is very small. In the past, only the top 3 have the opportunity to use it, so often every session after taking it, the top 3 will be promoted to core disciples, and the disciples in the back will automatically advance 3 places. And this time, because of the worship of the demon cult, the sect reward is extremely rich. If he can get the life and life he pill, he can at least save a few months of penance, and he can even compete with the 5 major forces in the future. If you get a good ranking above, the rewards will only be more. He will also be valued by the sect, and will soar into the sky. And this time the seed disciple competition is the first step. In that case, let's compete with strength. Yi Shiwen could see the opponent's desire for victory, but he would never give up. Junior brother Yi, please. As soon as Zhang Qi's voice fell, a powerful momentum shot out, and a long knife turned out. He was also a master of the knife. On the blade of the knife, a white tiger looked up to the sky. Chong Xiao, even faintly wanting to take shape, someone carved the artistic conception of a fierce tiger into the blade, which is definitely a piece of pseudo-spiritual weapon. Junior brother Yi, be careful. Zhang Kai reminded him, although he is eager to win, he is definitely not a dangerous villain. Moreover, the meaning of the tiger sword he cultivated is unparalleled. What the little people do? Yi Shiwen didn't speak, but with a solemn expression on his face, he was already on guard. True Qi itself is much more advanced than True Qi. A little bit of True Qi can be transformed into a lot of True Qi. Yi Shiwen turned True Qi into True Qi, and instantly set off layers of air waves, and his momentum was no weaker than Zhang Kai. Drink! Zhang Kai shouted loudly, and the long knife was cut out. Instantly, the endless realm of infuriating realm became a sword light, and there was a faint whistling sound. In the middle of the road, this sword light directly turned into a white head. The white tiger with say hair, the sound shook the world, and the dragon came out of the abyss. Yi Shiwen's palm instantly turned into a dragon's claws, and he stepped on the heavenly immortal step, and instantly Yi Jinjing recoiled in front of the white tiger. The dragon's claws rose against the wind, instantly forming a towering giant hand, which suppressed the white tiger. Boom! The dragon claws grabbed the white tiger and pressed it to the ground, and directly pressed a huge dragon claw print on the ground. At that moment, the white tiger formed by the condensed ray of primordial spirit was caught and destroyed by Yi Shiwen, and Caracala's voice was like an ice crystal, shattering inch by inch. But then a few more swords slashed out in an instant, turning into a white tiger and killing Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen was also unceremonious. With one palm, the endless palm force condensed into a dragon, and with a clear whistle, he rushed up. Immediately, the scene turned into a fight between dragons and tigers, a dragon fighting a few white tigers. Yi Shiwen was not afraid that others would see the origin of his moves. It was originally a martial art in the One Yuan school, and it was nothing to see through it. He learned from Lin Zontian that no one has learned, Dragon Palm, since it was obtained. In other words, over the years, Yi Shiwen should have been the first to practice it. I'm afraid they can't even see what moves they used. Moreover, in this huge One Yuan sect, there are several who do not have their own secrets, and the One Yuan sect does not require every disciple to honestly explain their adventures and the origin of all their martial arts. If this is the case, who else dares to show their full strength, who has a centripetal force for the sect, and no one likes the sect that takes care of everything. It's just a moment's effort, and the battle between the dragon and the tiger will be decided. Chapter 137 Refreshing the record. It was just a moment of effort. After fighting a few white tigers with Panlong, they were instantly annihilated by Panlong's powerful offensive. Compared with those white tigers, they were nothing but wise. This Panlong was actually stretching between the claws and the tail. The Panlong palms are used, and the power is huge. On the high platform, many elders who were concerned about Yi Shiwen's battle suddenly lit up. This set of palm techniques is obviously of extremely high quality. Although I don't know what level it is, they can basically see it. The overall situation is set. It's a pity this Zhang is late. Originally, it was more likely to break into the top 20, but unfortunately, I met this Yi Shiwen. An elder said with a sigh. Luck is also a part of strength. Bad luck is also a manifestation of poor strength. An elder next to him was obviously not very unified, and said with a pouting. The eyes of these elders and true disciples are very poisonous. They are all at the true Tao level, and they are masters of returning to the original. They don't need to look at the battle at the inner disciple level at all, they can see the result. On the high platform, a pair of eyes looked at Yi Shiwen with rather unkind eyes. That was Luo Yifan, and many thoughts passed through his mind. Yi Shiwen's killing intent in his heart has not diminished in the slightest. He never thought that Yi Shiwen would still be able to participate in the competition for seed disciples alive and well. The reason why he didn't kill Yi Shiwen on the spot before was just one of the reasons in the public. The real reason was that he believed that he was very powerful and was attacked by his voice. Even if he didn't die, he would stay behind. Great sequelae, no further progress. But he didn't expect that Yi Shiwen didn't die, and there was no sign of sequelae, which made him feel deceived. At that time, Yi Shiwen was not photographed by him at all. He was lying to him. Yi Shiwen was not sure how to laugh. What about him? When he thought of this, the anger in his heart was even more difficult to contain, and the murderous intention in his eyes almost materialized, wishing to kill Yi Shiwen. In his heart, he was even more convinced that Luo Tian's death was related to Yi Shiwen, and the killing intent in his heart was even greater. Naturally, Yi Shiwen didn't know that Luo Yifan had already figured out that he was not intimidated by him before, and what he said was a lie, but he also knew that Luo Yifan would not give up so easily. The sense of crisis in his heart is even worse, but now Yi Shiwen has no time to think about it, and now his eyes are all fixed on Zhang Kai. Time to end. The situation suddenly changed. At that moment, Yi Shiwen's body swelled with a thick infuriating qi, raised the long knife in his hand, and cut out a thick and long knife light, which flew out instantly and blasted towards Zhang Kai. The few white tigers that Zhang Kai cut out one after another were instantly crushed by Yi Shiwen's sword light. Zhang Qi's face showed a look of despair. He never thought that Yi Shiwen's real strength would be so powerful. Arrive. The sword light crossed the not so long distance on the ring and instantly slashed in front of him. Just as it was about to hit him, suddenly, the sword light seemed to be under some control and disappeared without a trace. At that moment, Zhang Kai was in a cold sweat, only to realize that the sword light did not cut him, and Yi Shiwen clasped his fists from the opposite side. "Senior brother Zhang, let it go." Hearing this, Zhang Kai suddenly felt a fever on his face and felt very embarrassed. He knew that Yi Shiwen had let his son himself, so he didn't make him look ugly in public, or even seriously injured, so he quickly cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, junior brother Yi today, for showing mercy. Senior brother is grateful." Endless. Don't mention the top 20 this time. It's good not to be injured. I can only say that my luck is too bad. This Yi Shiwen is too strong. Yi Shiwen turned around and walked off the ring. Yi Mo's voice came from his mind. "Why did you stop in the end? It doesn't matter if you kill him. Anyway, no one in the ring can hold you accountable. I'm not a demon. I only kill people who deserve to be killed, and I don't take pleasure in it," Yi Shiwen said lightly. Yi Shiwen still appreciates Zhang Qi's behavior, and his cruel methods are only aimed at the enemy. "Humans are really troublesome," Yi Mo said, "so your demons will never understand the human race," Yi Shiwen said as he walked. There was always such a difference between him and Yi Mo. He knew very well. Don't look at Yi Mo's sometimes naive behavior, but his views on some issues are terrifyingly cold, let alone humans. Even those demons, in his eyes, are no different from the humble ants, just like people watching the war between two nests of ants, indifferent without a trace of emotion. That is to say, he is not so indifferent to Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen also knows that because he has taken advantage of the owner of the Tianyuan mirror and controls his life and death, he does not dare to be so presumptuous. It wasn't the long-term killing, or the cruelty immersed in the bones, it was just a matter of course. Yi Shiwen slowly believed it. Perhaps a master Yi Mo used to be with was indeed a very remarkable person. Looking down on the heavens and the world, just like most people don't think it's a very serious thing to trample an ant to death, so does Yi Mo. There is nothing Yi Shiwen can do about the deep-rooted indifference, but as long as it's not aimed at himself, Yi Shiwen doesn't care. After the third round, Yi Shiwen successfully entered the top 100 and became a legitimate seed disciple. This immediately caused a sensation among the hundreds of thousands of onlookers. Now Yi Shiwen has just been squeezed into the ranking of seed disciples, and the specific ranking will be released later, but at this time Yi Shiwen has squeezed into the top 100. It's a hard truth. Yi Shiwen just joined the main sect this year, and in the first year, he was able to go all the way to the seat of the inner sect seed disciple. When was the last time, even if some old disciples remember it was decades ago, that person, called Chi Feifei, but that doesn't matter anymore. Now Chi Feifan is at the height of his power in the One Yuan sect. For everyone, the fact that he entered the top 100 inner sect disciples for the first time decades ago is just one of his many achievements, not too outstanding. And it's been a long time. Decades ago, it's been a long time. More than half of the disciples of the inner and outer sects are only remembered in the scattered corners of memory, and the other half, they simply don't know. When was the last time they had just joined the general sect in the past few decades? Decades are not a short period of time for the 200 years of the innate realm. For the acquired martial artists who are not talented enough, it is almost a lifetime. At least now, in the eyes of all the disciples, Yi Shiwen has created a record, a brand new record, and this record will accompany many disciples throughout their lives, just as Chi Feifan has affected the mood of all the disciples for hundreds of years. And even Chi Feifei, who is like a myth now, has only broken into the top 50, and now Yi Shiwen can break this record. Can he set his own record? In the eyes of everyone's expectations, Yi Shiwen's limelight directly overshadowed those old disciples, but Yi Shiwen did not let everyone corpse king, and defeated a powerful seed-level disciple in the 4th round. Successfully entered the top 50, directly tying the record of Chi Feifei that year. All the disciples were immediately boiling. Yi Shiwen's performance was too dazzling, all the competitions were smooth, it seemed that he had not fully exerted his full strength, and now he has directly tied Chi Feifei's record. Is it going to be another Chi Feifei rises? What? Will another myth, a legend, arise? Now everyone's speculation about Yi Shiwen has changed from whether he can squeeze into the seed disciple rankings, to how far he can go, whether he can enter the top 20, the top 10, or even the first place. There were even more daring disciples who guessed that Yi Shiwen had hope of being the first. The happiest among these people is obviously the disciples of Qianyu Pavilion. Yi Shiwen now represents their faces. Originally, the disciples in the Thousand Feather Pavilion were all newcomers. Except for the newcomers, almost no old disciples expressed interest, but now it is different. In addition to the newcomers, there are also many old disciples. In addition to showing great interest, many people are interested in joining Qianyu Pavilion after seeing Yi Shiwen's strong performance. Yi Shiwen's performance is doomed. That is to say, if you join Qianyu Pavilion now, you will be protected by a true disciple in the future. In a place like Yuanzong, joining a faction will not only be able to be protected, but more importantly, you will be able to get great the benefits of it may not be too important for true masters, such as spirit stones, which are a huge fortune for innate disciples. This is also the reason why many people want to join the factions created by the disciples of the true way. But those factions created by the disciples of the true way, which one is not extremely strict in accepting members, basically only the core disciples, the inner door and the outer there is no chance for the disciples at all, but there are a few who can enter the core disciples and only the elites among the core disciples will be selected. So even if they are envious, there is nothing they can do. But now the appearance of Qianyu Pavilion has given them another choice. As long as Yi Shiwen doesn't fall halfway in the future, the chances of becoming a true disciple in the future are very high. It's a gamble, give it a try in the future. Chapter 138, Defeat Mohan again. This is a gamble, betting that Yi Shiwen will be promoted to true Dao in the future, then they will also get great benefits, so many old disciples who are still alone suddenly become interested, and many more people are waiting and watching. For Yi Feng, Yan Qilling and other senior officials of Qianyu Pavilion, they can personally feel that all this is different after Yi Shiwen won the victory. Not only did the original members suddenly improve their centripetal force a lot, even the old disciples who have no interest in Qianyu Pavilion also have signs of joining Qianyu Pavilion. Among them, there are many masters of innate 5th layer. These are already considered to be the elites among the inner disciples. Disdainful masters will also have signs of joining. And this is the huge influence that Yi Shiwen brings. In this world where strength is respected, the huge influence that a person's powerful strength can bring is absolutely beyond anyone's imagination. In the eyes that everyone was looking forward to, Yi Shiwen finally ushered in his 5th-round opponent, Mohan after his great strength. With a long spear standing, the spirit is a bit colder than before, but the breath is much stronger. Compared with the first battle, at that time, almost no one was optimistic about Yi Shiwen. At that time, people only thought that Yi Shiwen was beyond their own power, but now no one thinks that Yi Shiwen is beyond their own power, and now Yi Shiwen is popular with everyone. He is a new star, and even many people think that Yi Shiwen will win. After all, although Mo Han is relatively strong, he was only at the peak of the 5th innate. He was defeated by Yi Shiwen once before, and Yi Shiwen is obviously stronger than before, and the outcome seems to be obvious. I didn't expect to meet you in the 5th round, Yi Shiwen said. I've been waiting for a long time, Mo Leng said coldly. At this time, Yi Shiwen was the only person left in his eyes. The evaluations around him had no effect on him. Beat him, beat him. There was only this idea left in his mind. You are stronger than before, but I still want to defeat you. Mo Han did not show weakness in his words. Although he could see that Yi Shiwen was stronger, he was not. Compared with 3 months ago, he is also more powerful, far more powerful than 3 months ago, so he was able to charge all the way here. Go ahead, Yi Shiwen said directly. Mo Han let out a low voice and stepped on his feet. His true chi burst out instantly. His body shape was like an arrow from the string, and he rushed towards Yi Shiwen in an instant. The spear in his hand was also shot in an instant. How fast! The icy chill instantly lowered the surrounding temperature by many degrees, as if it were about to freeze people. The spear air containing spear intent swept in instantly, and Yi Shiwen's eyes flashed with surprise. He didn't expect him to wrap spear intent into spear air so quickly. The name of a genius is indeed well deserved, and his strength is very strong. If not when I meet myself, maybe it is very possible to break into the top 20. Yi Shiwen casually grabbed towards the void, and suddenly a magic saber with infuriating condensation was held in his hand and slammed out. Boom! The swords and guns intersected, and there was a huge sound of gold and iron mingling. The air was violently rubbed, and bursts of thunder-like sounds burst out in an instant. Why didn't you use the knife? Do you look down on me? Mo Han put away the gun and said coldly. A martial arts madman like him can allow himself to fail and die, but he is absolutely not allowed to be looked down upon like this. Don't think too much. This sword technique of mine itself is a method of condensing chi into a sword. It doesn't make much difference whether you have a sword or not. Yi Shiwen said lightly. Cold Moon Slash itself uses sword energy as its main attack method. Unless you really encounter an evenly matched opponent, there is no difference with or without a sword. However, if the strength is much stronger than him, even a knife can't change the outcome. Since that's the case, then I'm welcome. Mo Han didn't think much about it. It was true that for some experts, it was the same whether they had it or not. As soon as the words fell, the long spear shot again, and the tip of the spear flashed a pressing cold, and it was like a poisonous snake coming out of a hole, and it rushed towards Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen also drew out his long sword in an instant, danced with heavy sword shadows, and went up to meet him. Chong! The crisp sound of gold and iron with sparks rang out from the collision between the two. Yi Shiwen's infuriating long knife and Mo Han's long spear collided heavily, and a visible energy ripple burst out, and immediately collided heavily on the body of the figure. Yi Shiwen didn't move at all. Mo Han took a few steps back, and he could almost see the difference. Mo Han didn't hesitate to shoot again. The gunmen were united. Just after they fought 2 moves, Mo Han was forced out of the realm of the combination of gunmen and men. After the second fight just now, Mo Han discovered that these 3 in the middle of the month, he was much more tyrannical than before, but Yi Shiwen's tyranny was even more unreasonable. If he could barely make a match before, now he can't even do it, and he can only use pressure. The gunmen at the bottom of the box are unified. The soles of his feet stomped on the ground, and Mo Han's body turned into spear shadows. Above the spear's tip, the innate junchi quickly condensed. With the help of the momentum, his body overlapped with the spear body. It was fused together. The gun man was one. The long gun cut through the air, and the sound of chi-chi, the air was stabbed at that moment. If Mo Han's spear was like a poisonous snake coming out of a hole before, then now his spear is a long dragon screaming to the sky. In the face of Mo Han, who has been united with gunmen, Yi Shiwen's face finally showed a solemn expression. No wonder Mohan was able to rush all the way here. After the gunmen were unified, Mohan's combat power has definitely surpassed the 5th level of innate. The limit is comparable to that of many innate 6th layer martial artists. However, unlike the previous dodge, this time, Yi Shiwen swooped out and greeted him. In the field, the light of the sword light and the spear light rose vigorously. After a while, the two scenes flashed and moved at the same time, and finally, under the gaze of countless eyes, they swept out violently, and in an instant, they met in the field. Boom! The two light and shadows collided fiercely, and a terrifying air wave burst out from the tip of the two weapons, and it swept away like a tsunami, and the air wave swept over. In that terrifying air wave, a figure flew out backwards, and there was almost no power to fight back. The riotous air calmed down in an instant, and everyone saw Yi Shiwen standing on the stage with his hands behind his back. There was no suspense at all about the outcome. Immediately, countless onlookers cheered. At this time, there was no longer any difference between new disciples and old disciples. There were only strong ones, and a record-breaking one. Is he going to go against the sky? Many old disciples who didn't like Yi Shiwen at first had to admit that Yi Shiwen was too strong, and Mohan's failure was not because he was not strong enough. After the gunmen were united, they could even be comparable to the 6th level martial artist. When it comes to Yi Shiwen, there is no problem even rushing into the top 10. But he happened to meet Yi Shiwen. It was like fate. Whether it was Zhang Kai or Mohan, it was not because they were too weak, but because Yi Shiwen was too strong. Yi Shiwen was so strong that no one could resist him. Go ahead. This match, Yi Shiwen wins. Yi Shiwen successfully passed the 5th round and has broken the previous record created by Qi Feifei. At least he should be considered the first person in 100 years. Just when everyone was boiling, a cold voice came over and said coldly, Yi Shiwen, your luck ends here, enjoy your last time. Yi Shiwen looked. It was the little Marquis. Looking into Yi Shiwen's eyes, there was both resentment and jealousy. Why? He also passed the 6th round. Why did no one pay attention to him? Everyone's all eyes are on Yi Shiwen. What is good about him? What is good about him? Why is he? Yi Shiwen looked at the little Marquis coldly, because he just knew that his opponent in the next match was this arrogant and domineering little Marquis. I don't know if it was a coincidence or someone made a move, but at this time, he met this little prince. After a short rest, Yi Shiwen heard Han's voice. Next game, Yi Shiwen, Zhu Bingxun. Zhu Bingxun is the name of that little Hu Yi. Come on Yi Shiwen, kill that Zhu Bingxun. Come on, create history, create myth. The disciples at the bottom were almost the clear voice of support for Yi Shiwen. If Zhu Bingxun won, it would be nothing to watch, almost the same as the previous years. But if Yi Shiwen wins, it will be different. It will create a historical record, a record that future generations cannot surpass. Witness the birth of a miracle, and the next match will be against the original seed disciple ranking first. One of the most top masters can create history and create myths if they win. Everyone wants Yi Shiwen to win, not the same Zhu Bingxun. This made Zhu Bingxuan's face look ugly all of a sudden, and his face looked like a pig's liver. Chapter 139 Abolition of Martial Arts. Yi Shiwen, today is your day of death. Zhu Bingxun smiled cruelly. He hated Yi Shiwen so much that he finally had the chance to take revenge. Zhu Bingxuan's terrifying breath was instantly released, his true essence overflowed, and he was already at the peak of the innate 6th layer. In the end, all the disciples, including the elders, changed their colors one after another. The congenital 6th level peak might not be a big deal, but this was in the arena of the semifinals for the seeded disciples. With such strength, it was definitely a huge variable. What? How is it possible? An elder said with wide-eyed eyes. This time the variables were huge. On the high platform, a cruel god flashed in Luo Yifan's eyes. Die. I didn't expect this Zhu Bingxun to have such strength. In that case, Yi Shiwen might be really dangerous this time. I heard that Zhu Bingxun and Yi Shiwen have a feud. I'm afraid Yi Shiwen is in trouble this time. Zhu Bingxun will never make him feel better. If I were him, then I wouldn't set foot in the ring. When I set foot in the ring, I can't help myself. So you will never reach Yi Shiwen's level. Once he gives in, his heart of martial arts will be broken, and it will be difficult to make further progress in the future. For a genius like him, life is better than death. I didn't expect you to have the courage to come up, but if you come up, you will have no chance to go down. Zhu Bingshun sneered again and again. For him, Yi Shiwen is acceptable whether he comes up or not. If he comes up, he will taking advantage of the situation to kill Yi Shiwen. No one can say anything. If Yi Shiwen doesn't come up, it means that he is afraid. Those who are afraid of things will probably be left behind in the future. How to clean up? You talk a lot, Yi Shiwen said lightly. Since you are in a hurry to seek death, I will fulfill you. Zhu Bingshun said with a cruel expression on his face. Zhu Bingshun grabbed towards the void, and immediately grabbed a crimson-colored sword, which was extremely delicate, but the moment he came out, the entire arena turned into a volcano, and the heat wave hit his face instantly. This is actually a spirit tool, not some kind of fake spirit tool, but a real spirit tool driven by real essence. When the real spirit tool came out, the whole air suddenly boiled. Any pseudo-spirit is not an opponent of the spirit. In addition to the strength of the innate sixth layer, who else was Zhu Bingshun's opponent? The many disciples who were watching suddenly became desperate for Yi Shiwen. It is absolutely impossible for Yi Shiwen to win against Zhu Bingshun with such a configuration. Spirit tools, even among the core disciples, are not available to everyone, and only some core disciples can have them. Even if it is only a low-grade spirit tool, the power is a mess. Yi Shiwen, you are dead today, I must make you die ugly. Zhu Bingshun said coldly. If you think you can beat me with this, you are too naive. Yi Shiwen sneered. Struggle to the death. Zhu Bingshun sneered, and the red long sword in his hand danced a red flame instantly, as if the whole air was set on fire, making a sizzling sound, and instantly slashed towards Yi Shiwen. The flames condensed into he grabbed a red fire dragon, opened his teeth and danced his claws, grabbed the world, and bit Yi Shiwen, trying to swallow Yi Shiwen in one bite. Yi Shiwen sneered and looked at Zhu Bingshun coldly, followed by another terrifying burst of true essence wantonly. A big hand stretched out and condensed into a dragon claw. The fire dragon that Zhu Bingshun fought was caught by Yi Shiwen and pinched to death. What is this? It's impossible. On the high platform, Luo Yifan suddenly stood up from his chair and looked at Yi Shiwen in disbelief. He couldn't believe that Yi Shiwen had already refined his true essence. The news that I couldn't get back from the previous inquiries was that Yi Shiwen had not stepped into the sixth level of the innate, and after refining the true energy into the true essence, what if it was not the sixth level of the innate, and what was the difference between the sixth level and the innate? This is really a mistake. Once or twice, he made mistakes on Yi Shiwen's body, which made him a little crazy, and the killing intent was brewing in his heart. What? How is this possible? Lin Zontian also jumped up from his chair at this time, looked at Yi Shiwen in disbelief and said, how is this possible? I just entered the innate realm before, how is it possible at this time? The real essence has been refined. Many elders and true disciples on the high platform also had incredible expressions on their faces. Originally, Zhu Bingshun was a master of the sixth level innate realm, which surprised them, but after all, Zhu Bingshun was already a master of the fifth level innate realm. Now, at this time, it is surprising to break through to the sixth level of the innate, but it is nothing, but now Yi Shiwen is already at the sixth level of the innate, which makes them suddenly unable to sit still. You know, the sixth level of the innate, there is a world of difference between heavy and innate fifth layer. Even if Yi Shiwen, who has already refined his true essence, has not reached innate sixth layer, he definitely has a fighting power on a par with innate sixth layer. Many people's faces were full of shock. I'm afraid this time they will really alarm the sect master. You must know that if Yi Shiwen has already broken through to the sixth level of the innate, then such a genius will simply surpass the previous Qi Feihan. Although Qi Feifei was very powerful, he didn't reach the level of Yi Shiwen back then. Even if Yi Shiwen has not yet broken through to the sixth level of the innate, then he will be more valued by the sect master, because he has not yet broken through to the sixth level of the innate, but he can actually see through the mystery of the true essence and condense it into the true essence. Such a person, absolutely genius, absolutely no exaggeration. What is this? How is it possible? Yi Shiwen has also cultivated into true essence. It's terrifying that he hides it so deeply. It's all right, the two sides are fighting each other. All the disciples were stunned, but immediately detonated the scene. All of a sudden, there are countless pairs of eyes staring at the two of them firmly. I am afraid it will be a fierce battle. Although it is a competition for inner disciples and seed disciples, this is clearly a battle for core disciples. This is different from the top seed disciples who can compete with the core disciples in the past. Most of the core disciples they defeated were the disciples who had just stepped into the 6th level of the innate. Although it is said that transforming the true essence is not as difficult as the innate chi, it will take some time. For some people, it will take a few days. For some, it takes a few months, while others take a whole year to fully convert. Even longer. And the strength of those people is obviously not as good as the two people in the ring now. On the ring at this time, Yi Shiwen's whole body puffed up his clothes, and a strong and unparalleled aura spread out, like waves. Zhu Bingxun, do you think that by being a dog for others and letting others improve your skills, you will be my opponent? Trash is always trash. I'll let you know today how far apart you were from me before. It's so big that you will never be able to resist. Yi Shiwen said coldly. Yi Shiwen, don't think how powerful you are at refining your true essence. Even if you step into the 6th level of the innate, you will not be my opponent. I can suppress you with a spirit weapon. Zhu Bingxun roared, his eyes are full of jealousy. Why, he knows what he has paid to get this strength, but what is this Yi Shiwen? He has only practiced martial arts for a few years, why can he have such strength? Yi Shiwen, die! Zhu Bingxun roared, the red color was common, turned into a streamer, and instantly killed Yi Shiwen. The whole person was like a violent fireman, and his whole body seemed to be burned by flames. Yi Shiwen displayed a knife, but he did not keep his hand. The power of the spiritual tool made him unable to keep his hand. The two rays of light collided fiercely in the center of the arena, and the endless waves of air instantly boiled and rushed out. When the barrier was set, what was envisaged was an inner disciple level battle, even a core disciple level battle. Boom! The entire barrier shattered, and a wave of air swept through it. Immediately, countless disciples used their true chi to resist, and they all marveled at how terrible this attack was. PFF'd. Zhu Bingxun spat out a mouthful of blood, and the whole person flew out. After all, he was promoted to the peak of the 6th level innate by his life. After all, he was not the real one who cultivated to the peak of the 6th level innate, and the real peak of the 6th level innate. In comparison, there is still a big gap. What's more, even if it is the real peak of the 6th level of congenital innate, it will not be Yi Shiwen's opponent. Yi Shiwen is enough to sweep. Yi Shiwen stepped out of the celestial steps, and his figure instantly caught up with Zhu Bingxun's voice flying out. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Zhu Bingxun, and his white palm firmly grasped Zhu Bingxun's neck like an iron hoop, just wrapped around his neck. Yi Shiwen, I'm going to kill you, this feud is unbearable. Zhu Bingxun yelled. It's up to you, you want to kill me again and again, this is your retribution. Yi Shiwen sneered, a mass of true essence gathered in his hand, and instantly blasted towards Zhu Bingxun's dantian. Bang! Zhu Bingxun's dantian shattered and his skill was abolished. Chapter 140 Confrontation. Lose. I didn't expect Zhu Bingxun to really lose. Quote. It's like a miracle. Zhu Bingxun, who was at the peak of the 6th level of the innate and possessed a spiritual tool, was defeated. What's the matter? Although Zhu Bingxun has already entered the realm of the 6th level of the innate, how could Yi Shiwen be? Wait, it is also the existence of refining true essence. Yeah, before the fight, who would have expected that the two of them would have such strength? Yeah, it's a pity for the two of them. If they didn't meet in advance, there would be no problem with the championship and runner-up. But did you hear what Yi Shiwen said just now, that Zhu Bingxun was raised as a dog by others? It turns out to be the case. No wonder. I said, I also know Zhu Bingxun, a very good principal, but his strength is its normal. How can it suddenly become so powerful? Who is he being a dog for? Don't you know? Zhu Bingxun joined the real disciple Luo's faction in Yifan Shrine when he heard about it. Brother Luo just stepped into the ranks of the real disciple 5 years ago, and this Zhu Bingxun had already joined Luo's senior brother back then. The faction you belong to. In that case, Zhu Bingxun was taken by Brother Luo. Shish, keep your voice down, you don't want to die. Brother Luo is right up there. He heard that. You all don't want to live, do you? A disciple said cautiously. Even if senior brother Luo is a true disciple, you can't do this, it's simply breaking the rules. If every true disciple casually improves the strength of his own faction to compete for the championship, it is not because of their true disciples. What else is there to do with us? Generally speaking, as long as you are promoted to the 6th level of the innate, you will choose to be promoted to become core disciples, because compared with core disciples, the treatment of inner disciples is not much different. It is also to prevent the disciples who are already very strong from staying in the ranks of the inner disciples and taking the opportunity of the inner disciples. This is not forced, so Zhu Bingxuan's behavior is not considered a violation. There have been cases where the disciples of the 6th level of innate have participated in the competition for seed disciples. If he cultivated by himself, no one would say anything, but Yi Shiwen also mentioned it just now, but he did not cultivate by himself, but was sent to participate after being forcibly improved in skill. This is equivalent to committing a huge crime, taboo. As the disciple said, because the treatment of each level of disciples is different, the resources obtained by inner disciples are far inferior to core disciples. If core disciples still come to compete for this kind of championship, then let it be. What should the inner disciples do? So this is very outrageous. These were originally just whispered discussions, but as more and more people discussed, they gradually became noisy. On the platform, Luo Yifan's face was a little ugly, and he snorted coldly. Naturally, the discussions between the inner and outer disciples could not have any impact on him. As a true disciple, he didn't need to think about who to explain. He just miscalculated again and let Yi Shiwen escape, which made him very angry, very angry. This made him feel that his self-esteem was seriously challenged. Yi Shiwen must die. Luo Yifan's heart was boiling with killing intent, and he was strangled into pieces. Not only did Yi Shiwen defeat Zhu Bingxun, who was invincible just now, but he also completely abolished his martial arts. He refused to even pretend to be a so-called miss, so he directly reached out and abolished Zhu Bingxuan's martial arts in front of the public, and no elders came out to stop him. On this arena, it is self-conceited, and it is untenable when it comes out. Yi Shiwen greatly shocked those disciples from the inner and outer sects. Yi Shiwen is actually so powerful. Although Yi Shiwen has always passed the test with ease, everyone guessed that he should have reserved strength. The real strength should be very powerful, but unexpectedly, it was so tyrannical to the point that Zhen Yuan made a move at will, which is even more powerful than Zhu Bingxun, who was arrogant just now. You don't need to know how many times. Yi Shiwen is just a newcomer. How can he be so powerful? This is simply unreasonable, especially for these old disciples. They have the urge to hit the wall. How many years have they worshipped the main sect? However, Yi Shiwen has only been in the main sect for how many years, and he hasn't been there for a year. The disciples they worshipped in the main sect are simply the same, but the difference in their strength is also like a world of difference. Yi Shiwen suddenly became an unfathomable image in their hearts. Compared with the other disciples who were shocked, the disciples of Qianyu Pavilion were full of joy. The stronger Yi Shiwen's strength, the more guaranteed their safety, and the less they would be bullied. I don't know when Yi Shiwen's image will start. It has already surpassed Yi Feng, Yan Qiling, and other high-level officials in Qianyu Pavilion. Although they are high-level in Qianyu Pavilion, and Yi Shiwen is not very involved, this is a world where strength is paramount, and people with high strength more respected by all. Yi Feng and others are indeed very powerful. With their strength, they can become the outstanding existence among the inner disciples in 2 years, and there is a lot of hope that they will break through to the core disciples within 10 years, expected. But this is nothing compared to the shock that Yi Shiwen brought to them when he had to defeat enemies that they could not defeat one by one in front of them, whether it was Yi Shiwen who saved them before, or now that Yi Shiwen has passed the test and defeated those masters like chopping melons and vegetables, they have established an invincible image in their hearts, and there is no enemy Yi Shiwen can't defeat. That is an invincible belief. Any faction needs such a person to lead the faction to a better development, but the situation of Qianyu Pavilion is special, and Yi Shiwen does not care much. Yi Shiwen didn't care what those people were talking about. He just walked slowly to Zhu Bingxun and said coldly, "Zhu Bingxun, I said, if you think you can rely on those people, you will regret it. Be fortunate." This is not a life and death arena, otherwise you will be a pile of rotten meat now. For Zhu Bingxun, Yi Shiwen didn't have any good feelings at all. He and Luo Yifan were all the same, and felt that his dignity was damaged, and he wanted others to die, but he also provokes himself. Although Zhu Bingxuan's martial arts were abolished, he did not faint. At this time, his eyes were very resentful. If he had magical powers in his eyes, he would stab Yi Shiwen 3 times and 6 holes. He hated Yi Shiwen very much. He was proud all his life, but he the one that Yi Shiwen cleaned up twice was like a bereaved dog, wishing to die. If selling to the devil could kill Yi Shiwen, he would sell himself to the devil without hesitation. But now, he can't draw any strength out of his body. His dantian was smashed by Yi Shiwen's palm, and his true essence was completely out of control. It was like a wild horse that was pulled away in the meridians of his body. Running wildly, destroying the meridians and shui dao on his body everywhere, and so on. He would never think that if he didn't provoke Yi Shiwen over and over again, he would not have encountered such a thing. In his heart, there was only hatred for Yi Shiwen. Without Yi Shiwen, he would not have suffered such pain. Yi Shiwen didn't care about Zhu Bingxun lying on the ground at all, and didn't kill him on the spot. It was already considered that it was inappropriate in the public. Zhu Bingxun repeatedly threatened to kill him. I heard, so even if the top of the Yuanzong asks. Yi Shiwen can also answer. Yi Shiwen, it's just a ring match, you are too ruthless, it goes against my style of being a martial artist. At this time, a faint voice came from the high platform, it was Luo Yifan. Yi Shiwen sneered, finally couldn't bear it anymore, all kinds of strategies flashed in his heart, the other party is a disciple of the true way. Even if he has just stepped into the true way in the past 10 years, for the warriors under the true way, he is still a person who needs to look up. Exist. Once you decide to attack him, you must plan to be foolproof. If you miss it, it may be a big trouble. Yi Shiwen smiled coldly and said, Senior brother Luo's words are biased. This Zhu Bingxuan's strength is obvious to all. I don't know who to be a dog, but he cheated on him and increased his strength to grab our inner disciple's seat. I am weak and weak. Don't dare to relax in the slightest, I missed it. In Yi Shiwen's words, he set a trap for Luo Yifan, so that the grievances of those inner disciples were directed at Luo Yifan. Now who doesn't know, Zhu Bingxun is the one who treats him as a dog and improves his strength. Most likely is Luo Yifan. Shut up, what a mistake, so many elders and true disciples again, you dare to say anything, you are clearly trying to get revenge. Of course, Luo Yifan couldn't hear such an obvious provocation, although he didn't care about the presence of those inner disciples. What was he thinking about, but being trapped by Yi Shiwen's red fruit, he had to jump down, which made him feel extremely aggrieved. Senior brother Luo's words are bad. The so-called fists and feet have no eyes. No one can predict what will happen. Besides, in the arena of this competition, the rule of life and death, has senior brother Luo forgotten? Yi Shiwen shouted loudly, and the sound went straight to Luo Yifan who was on the high platform, but he went straight to Luo Yifan. The surrounding disciples were stunned for a while, but they didn't expect Yi Shiwen to dare to yell at the true disciple Luo Yifan. This aura is not ordinary. I don't have a manuscript. I had too many things some time ago, and I couldn't save it. I code it now, but as long as I have a monthly pass, I can get up in the middle of the night to code. So please give more monthly passes. There are still 8 monthly passes, and I will add another chapter.